Reality NSFW, we are back with the Deep Dive podcast talking Survivor Season 41, episode number 10. I am your host, Lauren Pratt, along with my co-host, Alex Rubino.
What's going on? And today we have an incredible guest, a bucket list guest of mine. As Lauren very much knows, I wanted this person for a while. We finally made it work. From Survivor Guatemala, please welcome the one and only Brian Corridan. Brian, how are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Excited for it. Good episode, too.
Oh, yes. So, first off, what are your thoughts on the episode, the season as a whole, really, and Survivor as a whole, even if you want to go there?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a broken record at this point with the old schoolers. It's just, drop the 4, keep the 1. Well,
thank you.
Asking for it, no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Honestly, this whole entire season feels like Jeff just being bored during the pandemic. It just feels like he had no better plans than not that any of us did. So this is kind of not super shaded him, but also completely shaded him, because it's just like, what are you doing, buddy? I feel like he went to producing school for kindergartners. He's just so can't keep his focus on one thing at one time. So it's just like this advantage and this advantage, this advantage. And it needs Mike White of all people to be like, stop, maybe. How about no? So, I'm glad Mike White's a fan of the show, but feels like Jeff could have figured some of this out on his own. This last episode, which everybody's hailing, rightfully so, kind of speaks to that, because it's just like, look, let the players do their thing. Let the relationships speak for themselves. This is why the show's successful. It's why you retain an audience for so long. And it's what we want to see. I know that you maybe get bored of sitting at Tribal Council hearing the same story 800 times. And I know that the advantages do drive plots. It's a little hypocritical of us all to completely complain about it, because you do get these big moments and exciting things that happen because of, well, if they haven't, now let's do this split vote and blah, 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 and it's live tribal and blah, blah, blah. But this episode was just Survivor at its quintessence. It was just distilled Survivor, and it was beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing with this season, it's just been a complete roller coaster, up and down. You'll have amazing episode here and there, and then the next episode right after that, it just brings it down a little bit more. But I agree, this episode, in my opinion, best episode of the season, simply because of the relationships that we saw. People were deciding, oh my gosh, am I going to do this or that, depending on how it's going to help progress them within the game. And you're kind of battling your inner self saying, I want to do this because I have this relationship with somebody, but also I want to win the game.
Right.
Yeah. Dare I say, best episode of the season, and honestly, one of the best episodes we've had in a long, long time.
Oh, were you comparing it to Edge of Extinction and Island of the Idols?
Yeah, basically, Winners at War, I could think of an episode or two that was the Sophie boot that was incredible. Yeah, and this, honestly, if you think about it, this had a lot of similarities to the Sophie boot, in my opinion. But really, this is just to me, it's gonna be an all-time episode. It was the first episode that I got to watch live since the Winners at War finale, sitting with a group of superfans in New York City, and we're just like, oh my god, this is happening. This is happening. What? And even going into Tribal, even though it's in the back of my head, oh yeah, Shan could give it. None of the people I was with were saying that. We all were kind of in denial, I think. Yeah. We're all like, no, Lyanna's going home. No, Deshawn's going home. No, Xander's going. We're like, no, there's no way it can be Shan. And then it happens. We're like, these guys effing did it.
That's so much fun. We also got to watch it with a group of friends. That's also something obviously that we were missing for so long, right? The sense of community that Survivor brings in, getting to watch with friends. So talk about an episode to watch with friends. That was the one to do it. It was super exciting. It brought you that kind of rush of adrenaline the show brings you when it's at its absolute best. It's the kind of thing that I felt like we got a lot during David versus Goliath, which was an outstanding season. And yeah, God, that's awesome for you. You were, I forget you're in New York too. And you invited me last week. I was away. I forgot.
Yeah. Lauren, you're also invited if you ever want to come up from South Carolina for.
Yeah, that is a haul right there for me, for sure. But what I will say, just overall with the season, I know people have been so against some of the advantages, and I do think advantages are okay to have, but they don't need to completely engulf the season. And here's the thing why I'm not completely against advantages, because in this episode, people are having in the back of their mind, okay, what do we have to do to dance around knowing that Shan has an idol in her back pocket? What are we going to do to make sure that, okay, and this is why I think Erica made a great move in this episode for herself and her gameplay, because she knew that she was going to be the decoy, the backup plan if Shan did play an idol. So guess what? She goes to work, make sure that Shan's other closest ally is the other person getting the votes in Lyanna. And so I think Erica, people were sleeping on her this season. I think right now she could make some moves moving forward if people don't watch out.
People are sleeping on her. You mean the editors? Like, we didn't meet Erica until she smashed an hourglass. Yeah, which is a shame because she can talk and she can strategize. I think she's a player for sure. I think we lost some good Erica content because Luvu never went to tribal council.
I think we really did, but it's amazing to see the blossoming of Erica over the last few episodes. And this one was obviously her shining moment. Her and Ricard both for different reasons, but I was like, I just kept watching. Oh my God, she's gonna pull this off. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh no way, this would be really cool if they execute it. Oh, they actually did execute it. Oh my God, like what? It's just so impressive, and also it was cool about the episode. We had the talk of idols. We didn't have all these 50 other advantages. We didn't have everybody having an extra vote, everybody having a steal vote, everybody having knowledge power in this thing and that thing and this trinket. It was just, all right, 2 people have idols. We know about it. How do we get around it?
I think also part of it is it's just frustrating when new stuff comes in, and obviously you have to introduce new stuff. But as a player of the game, it's hard to play a game when the rules are changing. So imagine being Danny, like winning that challenge, and then suddenly, just kidding. Actually, you thought you won. No. Yeah. And it's just like, well, what's the point of any of this then? So if you're going to tell us outright, like at some point this season, there's going to be a challenge where we flip it, or like, in the pregame, here are the things that are eligible to be part of this season. When you're sitting there at Ponderosa pregame, just lay out like, here are the possible bells and whistles of this game, so you can at least attempt to plan for it. But when all of a sudden there's an idol nullifier, which granted was one of the highlights of David vs. Goliath, and I get it, and I love that episode too. But imagine being Dan, like he took it really well, honestly, but it just makes you not want to play the game when you don't know what the game is. It's Calvin ball. It's pointless.
My concern is always that, like, once we get at a point where there's just too many trinkets in there, that a lot of the players are going to start playing more cautiously instead of more aggressively. Mm-hmm. I think it's to me the Big Brother case of every time Big Brother introduces one of their stupid twists, they think, oh, it's going to drive gameplay, and everybody's like, well, no, if I think about the twist for 5 seconds, how do I game it? I do nothing. Right. I shut up. I don't take any risks, and that's how I'm safe. And I'm hoping we don't get there with Survivor, because I think where we're at now, especially with like this episode, we had an idol out of the game with Nasir, and they didn't hide a new one. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God, we didn't have an idol found. Fantastic.
Well, like, maybe they hid when they initially.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You don't know if they hid.
We went. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the immediate, oh, now somebody has an idol again, because we need 3 idols in the game at once.
Did you see the secret scene from this week's episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely amazing. Loved it.
Fantastic. Did you see it, Alex?
I did not actually.
So it's Xander waking up early to find an idol, knowing that Nasir went out with an idol, and then Lyanna follows him like a puppy dog, right? So she's on time, and they talk about having that brother-sister dynamic, and then Xander goes to tattle on Lyanna to Shan, as if he's going to, Mom, and he even says, like, Mom, Lyanna won't leave me alone. And so Shan finds herself in the position of being like, you figure it out, you two. It's a great scene.
Yeah, no,
it's an amazing scene, and just Shan's facial reaction during the entire scene is fantastic, because she's saying to herself probably, I cannot believe I am dealing with this at the moment. Because you also, I know they didn't show in the episode, but you also have to factor in, you don't want to say the wrong thing in that instance, because Xander's coming to you with an agenda because he's bringing it up. But also, Lyanna is your closest ally at that moment in the game, so you want to make sure she feels comfortable, because as soon as that scene ended, she's like, all right, I guess I got to go talk to Lyanna.
Shan's probably like, oh my God, why did they cast so many 20-year-olds this season? They need to like wake up and learn a little bit about life.
Literally, I'm just trying to look up. I know Shan is older than, okay, she's 34. Yeah, I was just looking up. So yeah, she's 34, and there are these 2 20-year-olds. She's like, I can't with this right now, you two. So, we don't get a lot of that age dynamic, but we forget, because they all look so they'll look pretty much the same age. I mean, I don't know if it's easy to tell that Shan is 14 years older than Xander and Lyanna.
I think when you see them interact, you see that Lyanna and Xander are a little bit younger than the rest of the pack, especially Xander, I think.
Through their actions more than their appearance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a level of maturity there. And obviously, you can just see the way that they react, the way that they go about things within the game. And that's why some people, I think as you get older, you're able to say to yourself, all right, these are moments I need to take a step back and just let these two figure it out themselves, because at the end of the day, you could say the wrong thing and that could really tank your game.
Yeah. I was talking to Morgan from my season just a couple days ago. She just turned 38, so her birthday was the 24th of November, and she's actually down in Costa Rica, which is where the pre-jurors went when we were voted out of Guatemala. So she had said on her Instagram story, she's like, I haven't been here in 16 years. I'm so glad to be back in this beautiful country. So I'd reached out. And she was like, I'm so happy I was voted off Survivor when I was. And I was like, you're welcome. And and we had actually a really nice chat about what it was like to be on Survivor, because Morgan and I are both born in 1983. So we were on Survivor in 2005. So we were 21, 22. And it's a hard game for a young person. It really is. Credit to the people who go really deep in the game. But you do wish you had a bit more life experience, the Shan's ability to kind of, and obviously they've both outlasted Shan, so blah, but Shan's ability to kind of navigate the politics and the dynamics and be more of a leader versus Xander and Lyanna, who are kind of self-proclaimed children of Shan. It's a tough game when you're young. It is. Life experience, I think, goes a long way in Survivor.
Yeah, and it makes me always have even more respect for the people who do win the game at such a young age, like a Sophie Clark, for example. The first time she won, like
Todd, Jenna,
Todd, yes, Sophie, Todd, Jenna, keep going. It's amazing to me. It's like I'm just imagining myself. I'm like, wait, I'm older than JD was when he went out to play, and older than Lyanna, and at the same age as Xander. I'm just like, how the hell are they even? Would I be able to do this? But it's a testament to them, but it's also, to me, concern of their abilities to win the game, really in the sense of being taken seriously by the jury. And I think that's a big concern for Xander in terms of just he's had this happy-go-lucky attitude the whole game. And yes, he had the one big move tricking Lyanna, but other than that, it's like, it's that and he's won immunity, and everyone's like, oh, he's Xander. We keep trying to get him out, but he has an idol, so we can't do anything. And everyone's like, da-da-da-da-da. To me, I don't see a scenario where who are they up against that they beat at the end of the game? Maybe Heather? If it's Xander, Lyanna, and Heather, I could see a scenario where one of them win. Other than that, it's slim pickings, honestly.
It's tough. And I mean, like, people have done it, right? You can win the game at 21. You can. People have. It's possible. But it is just tough to, I think, gather the respect of people who are in their 30s or 40s. Yeah. When you're like a 21, you're like, here's my plan. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I remember Millennials vs. Gen X. David Wright, who is one of the biggest students of the game, one of the biggest super fans, will always say, like, voting for the best player to win. He literally said, I would never vote for Will Wall to win because I could not vote for give an 18-year-old $1 million. And these people are 2 years older.
It's a consideration. I mean, it is. Like, what do you get? It's, to quote, who was it? Erica from this episode. It's like giving a baby a machine gun. Like,
I love that she called Shan the baby in that. I'm like, Shan's not Shan I would trust with a machine gun. I'd be scared of her, but it's like, I know she knows what she's doing. The baby is Lyanna or Xander in this case, or maybe Deshawn even. Giving them
it's tough. I think that's a consideration when you're sitting on a jury to think, like, can I in good conscience give $1 million to the 18-year-old? And Jeff is like, if you're 16, you should apply. 16? What? I work with 16-year-olds. No, don't. Do not put them on Survivor. Like, don't do it. It's a bad idea from A to Z. I can't stop coming up with reasons to not put a 16-year-old on Survivor.
I completely agree with you.
I don't think you can have 16-year-olds. And one big reason being, I just don't think mentally they could be able to handle it. There's a lot that goes on out there, and then just having to deal with relationships of people and being out by yourself half the time 16-year-olds, half the times when people go to college at 18, they've never been out on their own or anything like that. They don't even know how to use a freaking microwave. So how can you expect them to be able to go on an island and survive by themselves and end up like in a situation where they're on exile for maybe 2 days and being able to thrive there?
On the plus side, there are no microwaves on Survivor, though. So
that is a plus side. But you get my point being half the time college students don't even know how to work anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's very, very, very true. But I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, don't. Yeah. I mean, I work with 16-year-olds, and they're fun and they're hilarious and they're people, no doubt. But I cannot fathom being on an island and listening to a 16-year-old being like, "So here's the plan." Like, no.
Yeah, and to me, you run the risk of either you play hardcore, everybody plays hardcore, the 16-year-old gets blindsided and they're wrecked forever, mentally, or everyone's like, oh my God, I can't do this to a 16-year-old, they're too young, and everyone's like playing cautiously, and that's boring and nobody wants that. And this also gets me thinking of winners at war. I think with the exception of like Adam, Nick, and like Michelle, just about everybody was in their 30s or older. And that experience was freaking awesome to watch, at least personally. It was like everybody was like mature, wise beyond their years, and they were playing that game hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the median age for Survivor winner, I'm pretty sure, is in the 30s.
It has to be.
And that seems like a reasonable. I mean, look, you find the right people, anyone of any age can play Survivor. There's a 16-year-old who would be great at Survivor, no doubt about it. But when you're pulling from the just general population, and if I had maybe more faith in the psychological gauntlet that they go through before they get put on the show, I would maybe be less worried about this. But yeah, just being like, this 16-year-old's going to break down on day 4, put him on. It's like, oh.
Right. Well, and also a big thing to bring up, like Sam brings up a good point here, the social media hate. Can you imagine a 16-year-old coming back, being on all the social media outlets, hearing the hate that people have, not only about necessarily their gameplay, but who they are as a person, the reaction to that? You have to be super stable to be able to handle that. And at 16, you mentally cannot do that.
I mean, it's not great. It takes an extremely strong 16-year-old to be able to weather that pressure. I mean, and you see even this season with Ricard, he's been screenshotting the messages he's been getting, and they're horrible. And Ricard is a grown-ass man who is handling it, as far as we can tell, pretty well with thick skin. But 16-year-olds, I mean, your brain is literally still developing, and just to be inundated with this barrage of potential hate, or honestly, the love is not great either. If you're 16 and you're idolized and you're put on this pedestal, you're not gonna develop into a super tolerable 18, 21-year-old eventually. It's not great.
No, it's not. But if we just get back to this vote, because I just want to dissect this a little bit. So the episode restart, Danny is like, oh crap, I haven't done anything the whole game, I need to start doing something. Let me get out Ricard. And it was very like, okay, let's tell Deshawn, let's tell Lyanna, and then Lyanna spills the beans in 5 minutes and is like, Shan, they want to go after Ricard, help me. And it just, and then Ricard wins immunity and the whole plan's blown up anyway. But just curious, do you think that plan would have gone through had Ricard not won immunity? What's the chance of him going home, do you think?
I think pretty high. I think if Ricard doesn't win immunity, then does he still have that same move? I suppose he does, right? Because he was told about it before he won immunity.
No, I mean, he was, I think, considering Shan once he was safe.
Well, the question is, would he have considered Shan anyway? Because, in fact, wouldn't he have considered Shan even more if he weren't safe? Because
I don't know.
He's really got to deflect the target off of him.
Yeah, I don't think he would have gone for Shan in that moment because he knows he needs Shan to vote with him. And he needs also Shan to potentially play an idol for him.
Shan, no way.
I know.
There's no way she would ever. She was playing that for herself.
The odds are low, but he has to at least try.
Mm-hmm.
He has to try.
He tried many of times for other things and only slightly got what he wanted with the extra vote. But
slightly, but
I'm just saying,
at least you need Shan campaigning for him, which she said she was going to do.
So then he would have needed Xander's extra vote. It would have had to have been Erica, Heather, Xander, Ricard, 4, plus either Shan or Xander's extra vote.
I guess his only move is to try to take out Deshawn or just play the easy, let's get out Erica or Heather. Maybe that's it.
But to get out either Erica or Heather, you need the main alliance to switch off Ricard, and they were pretty set on weakening Shan. I don't know what
Danny and Deshawn were.
Shan, though. Yeah.
Well, so like, here's the factors that you have to look at. They want to, in that sense, before Ricard even has immunity, they want to find a way to weaken Shan. So the two people that you can get rid of to weaken Shan are Lyanna or Ricard. Not going to get rid of Lyanna in that sense because they're all supposed to be in an alliance with each other. So the next best option is to get rid of Ricard, who I think they realize are super close, but they also realize this in the sense of there's no way that they were ever going to progress them much further with each other. And it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if that entire group would have made it to the 5. But I think in the back of everyone's mind, they knew no way it's ever going to come down to 5 because there's other people still in the game you can pick up to help you maneuver some pieces around to make you go further within the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember watching the immunity challenge, and it's like, I don't care much about the challenges, but I was thinking, I'm like, wait, what's the interesting outcome? Who winning is interesting? And I was thinking, I kind of don't want Ricard to win. I kind of don't want Deshawn to win because I want everybody. I also didn't really want Xander to win to keep all these options open. I wanted somebody like a Heather or Danny to win that doesn't really change the board that much. And then Ricard won. I'm like, oh, that stinks. And then we get back, and he starts talking about, ooh, maybe I want to take out Shan. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And it was that whole deliberation back and forth, and Shan thinking, "Oh, let's just get out Erica." Go ahead, Brian.
It was a really nice development of a season-long storyline too, which was a nice part of it. It wasn't, a lot of the Great Survivor episodes are self-contained. They have the Eric boot, right, in Micronesia. It's very self-contained. It's the story of him winning immunity and then giving up immunity. Obviously the Black Widow Brigade was a bigger picture, but even with the episode, it was clear. This one, the depth of the relationships that Shan in particular had forged with Lyanna at the summit, with Ricard from UA from day one, and with Deshawn and Danny and Lyanna in their group. So this was really a culmination of a lot of pretty complicated relationships, and this idea that Shan and Ricard had never actually committed to each other in terms of the final 2. So they kind of had that latitude to say, well, I can vote you out and not betray you, which I think is partly why Shan was like, good game to Ricard.
It's amazing to me, and I think it's just a testament of how good a player Shan is. Yes, she's not a perfect player by nature, but the level of gameplay that she is that this move had to have been executed flawlessly. If any one thing goes wrong in this move, if one person doesn't vote the way they're going to, if the plan isn't drawn up this way, Shan is still in the game. Because either she plays an out or the votes don't go her way. Everything worked out, and that is how good of a player she is. And honestly, how good of players Erica and Ricard are, especially, but really this whole cast, to get her out in that way. I was just not expecting the civil war between the two of them to happen this early. But I was like, oh, I'm here for it, especially with Ricard actually getting the upper hand, which I also didn't really expect him to do. So
yeah, I thought Ricard was going to get the shaft. I thought we were learning, like the whole season, I thought we were leading toward Ricard like continuing to just stay with Shan, despite his better judgment, and then getting voted out because of it. So this was sort of a surprise to see him get the upper hand.
And what's interesting to see as well within this episode was Danny and Deshawn having that moment with each other saying, are we getting played in this situation? Because that can create so much paranoia. And then they can say, all right, you know what, maybe the safest bet is just to get rid of Erica. And they didn't end up doing that. They stuck to their guns and said, timing is great right now to get rid of Shan, because the problem with someone having an idol is you have to execute it almost perfectly to make sure you get the direct hit. And I think that's why Erica made sure the direct hit wasn't going to be her and maneuvered that piece to make sure the Lyanna was going to be the person next in line. And I think I have to give credit so much to Erica also. Her approach with Heather by her side, going up to Danny. Danny is the perfect person to go to in this situation because I think Danny thinks rational in this game. And I want to give credit to Danny. I actually think Danny's playing a great game because people aren't seeing him as a threat at the moment. And I think if Danny just makes one key move in this game to solidify himself from everyone else and makes it to end, strong case to win.
I agree. I think Danny's been quiet. The one thing I'll say about Danny, because I rewatched the episode this morning in prep for this, and I feel like I don't know Danny, right? So as a viewer, it's hard to be invested in Danny because they're not giving him the kind of personal content you get from Deshawn or Shan or Ricard last episode with the hearing, impaired hearing. So I don't feel like I know Danny, and I wish I knew Erica a little bit better too. I don't know her story. I mean, even Heather, we had kind of her breakdown of tribal council last episode where she was like, oh, I'm here for my kids and I'm just so excited that they can see me do this. And I mean, obviously Heather's a total purple edit, but I feel like I know Heather more than I know Danny.
Yeah, the thing with Danny, it's so interesting, is I feel like most of what we got during the pre-merge was that, and I say almost the way he's tight with Deshawn, and he for some reason is scared of little 4'0" Erica. And I love that. That's all we're getting from him. And this episode was like his breakout in a way. I'm like, whoa, we're starting with a Danny confessional. He's on the season, and it's like I've been saying it the whole season. I'm impressed by him being this just like tank of a human, muscles everywhere, former NFL player, and has not been a physical threat, has not been a huge target, although he helped his tribe win all those immunities to not go to tribal in the pre-merge phase of the game. However, my thing is, one, I don't know if he's capable of making a just big strategic move on his own, because the big move he tried was very almost cut and almost want to say cut and dry. All right, let me tell Deshawn, let's get him on it. Oh, wait, now let's go get Lyanna. And oh crap, it blew up. Now I don't know what to do. And he's running out of time. We're down to 7 people left in the game. I can't point to one thing on his resume that says, oh, this guy should win the game. And I want to, because he's really good socially, but to me, his time is running out.
From a viewer standpoint, who knows how the players are perceiving him? But from a viewer standpoint, it's hard to point out something for Danny that says like, wow, this was his big moment. I mean, they've given us a little bit for Erica, to Lauren's point. They've made kind of a little bit of a point, even especially this last episode, to be like, this was Erica's plan too, right? Yeah. Not just Ricard. Erica was there. Like, we got that was Erica. Yeah. But Danny, harder to say. Ricard certainly has had his moments. Deshawn is a big character, so the viewers know him really well. Xander, I feel like
we know him.
The Facebook moms would love it if Xander won. Oh, he's so cute and white, and and his won his immunities and blah blah blah. Or hasn't? Yeah, he won.
He did.
He did win immunity.
But yeah, I like Erica. I like Ricard. I like Deshawn, although he can be a little like kind of bratty at times, right? I mean, a little bit of that. I forget how young he is too. He seems older, but he's younger than I think he is. How old? I saw that up. He's like in his mid-20s. Maybe?
He's in his 20s. Yeah,
or 26 is my guess. I know he's in med school.
26. So. Okay, I mean 26.
Oh my gosh, I'm older than him.
I've got time at least. I'm good.
I need to take a step back for a moment. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's funny to see people's ages versus what we perceive them as, for sure.
Oh, so, I would love to just show somebody this, like the episodes. Pick how old everybody is, and I want to see how off they are. That would be so
I'd love for people's general idea of how old Jeff is.
Oh yeah.
You know how old he is?
I mean, he's 60, right?
I think he just turned 60. I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which that one's still amazing. I'm like, wait, the guy is 60?
I mean, he's been on Survivor for 21 years now, so.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a child when he started. It's like this guy was like near 40 when he started. It's like,
and his dress has evolved for sure. I mean, I just remember from season 1 what he was wearing. His entire apparel was definitely interesting to say the least.
I mean, it's like it's different, but it also seems like it's been the same. It's like the button down and khakis. Like that has not changed much. The different hats he's worn has changed, and now his hair's a little bit longer. But it's like
so still we know he's capable of keeping some things constant. So then it's just his producer. So he keeps his outfit the same, so he needs to change the game instead. It's just
I feel like he was like when he came up with all these ideas, and he was just being like the little kid with a whiteboard. Then he calls Mike White, and he's expecting Mike to say, "This is amazing, I love it, let's go." And then he says, "No, like it's not fun." He's like, "All right, retool." And he's like, "Yes, I've got it. This is fun. I don't want to hear anybody step in my way. This is the season."
Right.
And he's got it. And one thing I want to point out, because we were talking about how this season has really been a roller coaster up and down. We have we had an episode like this where it was pretty much straight gameplay. It was awesome. No, nothing crazy. And then next episode, we get the big dangerous twist, whatever that is. I don't even know what it is, but I was talking to somebody after watching the episode, and they were showing me the beginning of the season, and it foreshadowed every little twist that's happened so far. Like there was like the opening montage had the little ship wheel, protector risk. It had an hourglass being smashed, and the last thing it had was basically almost pictures of, I believe it was a fire, a flame, and a skull, and that's it. And I have no clue what that means. I have no idea what they're planning. Do you two have any ideas or crazy conspiracy theories as to what the dangerous twist is going to be for next episode?
Now it just feels like Jeff, in addition to taking like production for kindergartners, took like foreshadowing for kindergartners. Like just with this guy, I can't. I just feel like he's such a haphazard producer, just like this and this and this, like AD everywhere, to quote Judd from Guatemala.
Oh
ADD. What could the twist be? I don't know. They're gonna shoot someone on the site. Like, are we at that point in this game yet? Is this like a lottery situation? They're gonna be stoned to death? I don't know.
This is exactly what I've said with the roller coaster factor. You have an amazing episode, and then the week after that, it tanks.
Yeah,
that's why I'm very, very concerned with what's going to happen next week. I never look into any spoilers. It's no fun to podcast if you know spoilers. So I have absolutely no idea what is going to happen, but I guarantee people will be tweeting about it. So if you want to know, get on Twitter during the episode.
Right, exactly.
All right, so
it's after challenge, though, isn't it? That's where he says it?
Where he says it.
That's where he says it.
That's where he says it. Here is my little crazy conspiracy theory that I've kind of just thought of, so bear with me on this. My thinking is he gives the players some kind of like an option to sit out of the challenge, and then if you do, you obviously can't win immunity, but you can kind of win immunity at like tribal. Either if you want to say give up your vote, you can like go into a fire making challenge. That's where I'm thinking you get the fire from.
Okay.
You take some risk, you go into a fire making challenge, and that's how you can almost win your have your chance of winning safety. I just think they're going to do something with fire, and it's like, ooh, it's dangerous because you risked your chance at winning immunity here, and maybe you risked your vote, but now you're making fire, and I don't know, Heather's going to go home because she can't make a fire or something stupid.
Can you see, what is it called? The episode is called Do or Die.
Nice.
Yes. So
that kind of speaks to your point. Like, I don't know, go for the immunity or die. Maybe they are shooting somebody.
So maybe you get.
He's like,
that's what I was going to say.
Oh God,
at its finest right there.
We're gonna burn somebody.
There's going to be a dilemma, I think, obviously, because if he's saying it at a challenge, then he's going to give them a choice of some sort. We don't know what that choice is going to be, but this is the only thing I hope for. I hope this choice doesn't impact someone's entire game where it just screws them completely over with them not doing anything poor strategically and poor socially or any of that they just get screwed over.
That could be, yeah. I'm seeing in chat Sam says maybe first one of the challenge goes home. I don't think it goes home, but I think it could be something of, you know what, if you're first out in the challenge or like the first 3 people out, you guys have to make fire and the loser goes home. They could try something.
Or maybe the first 2 people out of the challenge are the only 2 eligible to go home, right?
Oh God.
And then it's a vote. It's a 50-50 vote. Like,
right. Let's send Heather. How is production going to try to send Heather home? That would be it. And listen.
Right.
I know Heather doesn't have a great shot to win, but don't screw Heather like that. She already has been screwed enough. Damn it.
I know. That seems like something they would do, right? Like, if you're the first 2 out, now we have to choose between one of you 2 to go home.
Yeah, but then I guess what are the other 5 doing? All right, you've all won immunity. You're done.
Right, I guess. Or it's the
think,
last 2 to finish the challenge, right? More than the first 2 out.
Maybe great. Maybe we're gonna say, you know what? Oh, here. If we're gonna be crazy conspiracy, Jeff. All right, the first 4 people out of the challenge, they basically are not immune like normal. Then out of the final 3, 1 person wins immunity. The other 2 are the only 2 eligible to go home, where they have to make fire or something.
Or
because then you have a little bit of a dilemma.
Or the first 3 finishers are the only ones who vote, for one of the last 2 finishes.
Oh, for the love of God, stop it.
Now I'm going to give you
he talked about having small little groups here and there throughout the season.
We are down to 7 people.
It doesn't matter. He talked about small groups. So what did they do? They broke them down into smaller tribes, and then they had the huge merge episode, and then they had where, all right, it's 5 here, 5 there. We're going to have a vote. You never know. And the thing is, it's so fun to think through all these different types of scenarios, but until I see it on my television screen, I don't want to predict because I'm not going to be correct, and that's completely fine because I think Jeff is going to do something that's going to blow everyone out of the water. You're going to have pissed off people.
You're going to have pissed off me.
Yeah, pissed off you. I've just embraced it in the sense of I've been a Survivor fan since day one. I'm not going to quit watching the show just because new twists and advantages come into play because I love it so much. Yeah. And, people are going to, if they decide to quit watching, that's fine. But I'm not going to stop watching because at the end of the day, I think what we're going to see is season 41 is going to be like this. Season 42 is going to be like this because they already filmed it. However, I think feedback will be taken into consideration from people moving forward, and we could see a whole new scheme happen going forward with season 43 and beyond. Never know because you know how Jeff is. Jeff is very, very gung-ho about wanting to have his stamp on the season.
I think you're giving production too much credit and that they'll take fans' considerations into effect and also super fans' considerations. We make up such a minority of the fan base. Yes, we're a vocal group, but it's still a pretty big minority, and he thinks all the super fans hate him anyway.
Sure. Fact. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my hope is that we don't get with others. I don't want Ricard or Erica getting screwed by the bottom line. I don't want that.
Jeff's recommendations for seasons come exclusively from 8-year-old girls at the reunions. That's when, next season's just gonna be Cochran. That's it.
Just gonna be Cochran.
Oh, talk about a way to piss off a lot of people that are not Cochran fans.
What do you think about Lyanna, though? Because I have a hard time figuring out if she gets to the end. Is now Lyanna kind of neutered, or is she just the third in the final 3 with Danny and Deshawn?
I don't think the 3 of them get there.
Yeah.
At all. I almost think she's maybe a final 4 or 5 vote that's kind of all right, see ya.
I don't know. I would, at this point, I'd want to take Lyanna to the end because I don't think Lyanna at this moment in time really has any agency left in the game with people. She's kind of stuck. People, I think, are going to, at this moment, use her for a vote because who's she going to go to? I know we see in the preview for next week, she lashes out at Danny and Deshawn. Rightfully so. I get why she does it. She's frustrated that her closest ally in the game went home. But at the same time, what is she going to do? Go to Xander?
Right.
Yeah. Where's she going to go from here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's between Ricard and Erica, whichever one of them is smart enough to pick her up and say, because I think both of them, they're playing great games, especially Ricard, I think is playing a phenomenal game. They both need allies, though. They need people who are indebted to them.
But do they need Lyanna? Because can it just be, why not at this point, Ricard, Erica, Heather, and Xander? That's 4.
Yeah, I think Xander's still a little iffy, and I think if we're looking at Ricard's situation, Erica and Heather, and really Xander, are all more loyal to each other than they are to Ricard.
They're also all probably goats in Ricard's eyes, right? If we keep being told that Xander has no relationships, right? That no one really wants to work with Xander. Xander's not a big threat. Xander, yes, he's got all these accoutrements, with this extra vote and the idol and such, but no one seems to really care about Xander. So he seems a little bit hard to pull off a win. God knows Heather seems like she's hard to pull off a win. And Ricard, would imagine, fancies himself a bigger player than Erica. So don't those 3 seem like...
Yeah. I mean, I know he wants Deshawn out next. At least that's what he said with this episode of, you know what? I'm pissed off at Deshawn. I know Deshawn's been targeting me, but it's I need him now, and then I'll send him home next. I think that could be an interesting play, seeing Danny and Deshawn trying to almost, I think, scoop up Lyanna and say, hey, we need to get at Ricard, and seeing which way Lyanna goes, and then who wants to take out Erica, because Erica's still the biggest threat in this game, apparently, which still doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
What are Danny and Deshawn's path to the end? What is their thought process in voting out Shan? Who do they still have? They still have Ricard, they think?
I think they still have Ricard. Danny, I think at least sees that he can use Erica and Heather a little while.
Well, I wouldn't say that he can use Erica and Heather. I think Erica used Danny in that
I agree. Erica used Danny. I'm saying Danny thinks
for
he
sure.
can use Erica.
I think their path moving forward, honestly, this could be a shock. Maybe old Luvu just comes back together because they have the numbers now. Because then you have Danny, Deshawn, Erica, and Heather. Because here's the issue. If they're already thinking in the back of their minds, they wanted to take Ricard out at the beginning of this episode for a reason. Because they thought Ricard was a threat for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think moving forward, they want to keep Ricard in this game.
No,
so I still think Ricard is on their radar. And I think if they can be convincing enough to pull Heather in, to pull Erica in, and say, if we go to the end with Ricard, Ricard beats every single one of us. Especially, I think Shan's exit hurts Ricard, puts a huge target on his back by her saying it, whether she meant it or not, because people always have to think about the jury's perception. If they know someone has someone pulling for them, how persuasive Shan can be in talking to all those jury members. If you sit at the end with Ricard and she's his number one fan, you could be in big trouble.
Oh, yeah. I think Ricard's path to the end is not getting people to take him. It's flat out just get almost pretty much controlling your way to the end and then hoping at like final four you win immunity and don't have to make fire. That's what I'm thinking at this point, because you have Ricard on one side, you have Danny and Deshawn on the other. Lyanna is somewhere in the middle, and then my thing is I don't think Danny and Deshawn can work with Erica. I just don't see it working, because I think they both almost have tunnel vision of each other, especially Danny and Deshawn wanting Erica out as well. And I think about this more, that I think is Erica's sweet spot. If Erica can capitalize on Danny and Deshawn going after Ricard and vice versa, and Erica can skate by and like poke and prod and do that, I think that's how Erica can win this game. Get them to take each other out, and then Erica's left at the end. That's probably your best shot. Drag Heather and Xander with you. That's probably your best bet.
It does seem at this stage that no one's gunning for Heather or Xander right now. Like, what's the point?
Xander a little bit. I think the idol is still a little concerning to people.
Well, then just don't vote for him. Like, him playing the idol does nothing if you're not voting for him anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, like the fact of, he has an idol, so we can't touch him. I think that's what's a little scary. I don't know.
But I'm wondering if they even care to touch him. Like, has it reached the point now where people just have no relationship with Xander? So they're like, well, he was a threat at Final 8, Final 9, Final 10.
Yeah.
But now that we're getting closer, we're like, actually, we're so close to the end of the game and no one really likes him. So
if you think of the jury, I think a very rational player can figure that out. It's like Tiffany doesn't take him seriously. And you just saw the reactions Tiffany had to things. I think when Evie was like, Xander still doesn't know, she's just like, well, okay. Nasir, I don't think knows him well enough to take him seriously and vouch for him. Evie, who may be the person who would vouch for him, I don't think does. At this point, Shan's certainly not vouching for him to win the game, almost certainly. And that's you have 5 more jurors left, if my math is correct.
And even among the players who remain, certainly Lyanna's not going to bat for Xander as a juror if she's on the jury.
No, wait.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're Danny and Deshawn, you're not looking at Heather, you're not looking at Xander, which leaves you looking at Ricard, Lyanna, who I can't imagine they're gunning for Lyanna.
I'm sorry, but that is half the jury, because we're going to have an 8-person jury. My bad.
Oh, okay, great. So if you're Danny and Deshawn, pretty much all you're looking at right now is we got to get rid of Erica, we got to get rid of Ricard, right? I mean,
that if I'm Deshawn, I'm looking at it from that perspective, and because I think at that point he's in the best position. Although I think getting those two out is going to be a major obstacle for him with the target he still has on his back. If I'm Danny, I think you need to take Deshawn out. You need to do something that separates you from him and is like, no, I am here to play this game, not be Deshawn's lapdog.
He needs
which
to be
is
Ricard.
What he looks like right now.
But I think they have to I think they need to get Ricard first, and then Danny makes that move, because you really need to solidify your numbers there. Because if you here's the deal. After this last vote that you slightly can definitely trust Heather and Erica, because you saw the conversation between Danny and Deshawn, thinking for a moment that they could be getting played here, realized, okay, we can work together. They were true to us with this last vote. So maybe us four do come together, take out Ricard, and then that's the point where maybe Danny can do something within the game. Also, to point out with Xander's biggest thing right now, he only would have, if he gets to the end, the underdog story, unless Xander makes a huge move with playing his idol correctly and getting the person he wants out to go home. Not the second person in line who everyone was going to make the decoy vote just in case an idol gets played. It only will work if Xander gets out the person that he truly wanted to go home.
If it's his agency, if it's not just him getting it all himself.
It basically, he needs almost like everybody to vote for him and then him be the one vote. Mm-hmm. He needs like to almost fool everybody that way or something. So I think his odds are relatively low at this point. I just don't see a path for Heather to win, unfortunately. Because, I mean, part of it's the edit. I mean, they wouldn't make a person that invisible win the game, you would think. And also, all that they've shown of her is her pretty much playing the game poorly whenever she tries to take control herself.
From an edit standpoint, it's very hard to justify a Heather win unless the editors are really, really going drop the 4, keep the 1.
Well, I think they would be doing that if Erica wins this game, because this doesn't look like a typical edit for Erica, but it also is
winner edit. You mean
yes, the typical winner edit. But I'm starting to see like signs of it. She didn't go to tribal in the pre-merge. She wasn't one of the big characters on her tribe. But then it's like right before the pre-merge, her tribe's trying to take her out, and they can't, mostly thanks to Nasir being a beast and winning a challenge on his own. They can't take her out. And then, Erica gets screwed in the merge swap thingy, whatever you want to call it, and goes to exile. Does the big move of keeping herself safe and smashes an hourglass, because of course that's a big move, and not a no-brainer whatsoever. Right. And then fades into the background for a couple votes while people are still mentioning her name all the time, mentioning, how about Erica? How about Erica? How about Erica? Nothing happens. And then this vote, Erica freaking takes control and is like, no, this is how we need to do it. Sure, you want Ricard, you want Shan out, but we're doing it my way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we still have a couple episodes. What is it? 2 more episodes and then the finale. So we've got 2. So there's time for someone to emerge as endgame, like winner edit, like for sure. But as far as like this stage in the game, who would we recognize as having a pretty decent winners edit? Maybe a Deshawn, maybe a Ricard. End list?
You end the list there. But I will say, I think Erica is slowly starting to slide herself in there because we keep seeing bits and pieces of her game. And I think what happened with Erica was there were so many huge characters on this season, and I wouldn't call her a huge character. I think she's a great strategist, and I think she knows what she's doing. Yeah. But her issue is you had so many dominating people that ate up a lot of that screen time that she wasn't able to get, and it's not her fault that her tribe won. I mean, we see it season after season. If your tribe wins, you're not going to get that screen time. She had Sydney on her tribe. She's going to get Sydney and Nasir. They're going to get those confessionals for sure, and then you had a little bit of Deshawn there. And so now we're seeing with Erica, as the numbers start to dwindle, they have less and less people that are going to eat up that screen time. And so we're able to actually see what her gameplay is and what she wants to do moving forward within the game.
Mm-hmm. And she did have a bit in the beginning talking about wanting to not be the lamb, right? That was a early season.
She wants to be the lion instead of the lamb. Right. And to just counteract both of you, I think Ricard's number 1 clearly in terms of who's winning this game right now, and that is almost my fear of the season. Listen, I love Ricard and I think he'd be a great winner, but to me it would be right now like, it almost feels too obvious once we took Shan out of the game. My hope then is that Erica wins this game, because I think Erica's you're probably your second most likely person to win with all the edits she's been getting lately, and I think Deshawn's right behind her. The reason I say Deshawn's a little lower because I have a harder time seeing Deshawn make it to the end with all the targets on his back.
I'd love to see Erica win for no shortage of reasons, but I do hope if Erica is our winner, I want more from her, not from her, she's doing fine. I want more from the editors in the next episodes from Erica.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think if we start to see that, then we're going to be able to notice, okay, Erica's in contention to actually win this game, because earlier on we weren't seeing enough for me to say, okay, she has a chance to win. Because I said, I said maybe 3 or 4 podcasts ago, I think based on what we were seeing, I wasn't saying, okay, she can win this game. I think maybe she has a chance to get to the end. But now I'm seeing what she's able to do strategically, what she's able to do socially, and how she's able to talk and communicate with people. And I think if she sits at the end, she's someone that can actually pitch her case really, really well. We see how she speaks at tribal council, and I think people will listen if she's able to explain, this is exactly what I did in the game. Yes, I wasn't the big flashy player at the beginning, but I made all these subtle moves and then made the bigger and bigger moves as the season progressed and was able to get myself to the end.
Mm-hmm. This seems like a jury that would appreciate a player like that. I really think for the most part, maybe Danny and Deshawn, I don't know how much, or at least Danny, maybe not how much he would, but I think a lot of these players, I think Evie would appreciate that a lot. I think Tiffany would appreciate that. I think Shan would. I think Ricard would.
Did you catch, though, the weird thing in tribal council where it's when Shan and Eric are talking to each other about can they trust each other? And, well, we were together for the Nasir vote, so I would hope there's some trust between us. And Shan's like, yes, no, Eric is trustworthy. And then they cut to Tiffany, and Tiffany pause. Tiffany's like, trustworthy.
Oh, yeah, I have her quote.
To do with Erica.
I have her quote. Oh, yeah, very trustworthy.
Which was a weird thing. Is she speaking on Nasir's behalf? I do not understand.
I think it could be partially Nasir's behalf, and I think the other half of it could be that whole thing that Heather was trying when Tiffany got voted out, of getting up and being like talking to like Erica and Nasir and being like, no, this is the way it's going. That's where I'm thinking it's going. But I also do think I think it's probably part of it now is Nasir, and what she's watching happen is like, oh crap, Erica and Heather played Nasir like a fiddle.
Or my other thought process is this: just simple editing, making us think that way. And she actually said it during a different time at tribal council. So that's my other thought process.
Totally possible.
It is. She may be saying that about Shan. That's the only other thing I can think of. But I just love the line, oh, yeah, very trustworthy. That just... Tiffany's the best. Tiffany's one of the better jury forewomen.
I really want. I thought Tiffany reminded me a lot of Amy from Guatemala. Just this.
Oh my god.
Tough woman, curses like a sailor. I felt like this affinity with Tiffany.
Is she going to beat someone down?
I know. I kind of was waiting for that. You kind of felt like she would when she was taking Xander to task for lying at her.
I'm going to beat you down. I just wish we had that. I didn't even think of that the whole season. I'm just like, oh, that would have been glorious.
Yeah, she had Amy vibes to me.
Tiffany, the new age Amy O'Hara. I love it. I love it.
And you, Alex, you look like Blake. Do you get that?
No, I've never got What? I think you've broken Lauren. I have never gotten that in my life, and I don't know if I take offense to that or not.
You have his hair and his mouth, for sure. I see you.
The hair, I've never had my hair this long. It's not even that long. It just like goes to here.
That's like Blake's length. It's like Blake length hair, and you have the same.
I think you've broken Lauren, but
I can't.
Lauren, defend me, right? I don't look like Blake. I hope I don't.
No.
Blake, well, first of all, that's certainly not an insult. Blake was a literal model. But also, I see you, and I'm like, it's like Blake. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking more of the personality that I don't want to be like Blake with.
And honestly, Blake's a great guy.
No offense to him. No offense to him. I just mean like.
Well, the edit Blake got was not a great edit, largely due to my baiting. But
I guess why I'm laughing is because I guess I can see maybe the facial expression and all of that. But I'm going with the muscle situation.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah, there's not.
There's not.
Yeah, no, Lauren, call me weak. You're right. I that's where I'm like, what?
That's where I was laughing at. I'm thinking to myself, athletically, no.
Hey, I can run around and do stuff. I'm no slouch, but am I lifting 100 pounds with nothing? No. Well, and I'm also not the jock that Blake is, or at least that he appeared to be on the show.
Yeah, he was a jock. He was a jock for sure.
I'm definitely
not. And you're also not dating somebody that has
double D breasts.
Yeah.
How do you know that? No. Yeah, no, not yet. At least not yet.
This took a turn in a different direction, this is why it's reality NSFW. We talk about any and everything.
I don't know what's going on.
Brian, right. I do have to ask you a question because people have said on the season that this is the hardest season ever.
Oh, here
and
we
go, did they watch Survivor Africa? Did they watch Survivor Guatemala? Because in my opinion, those were the two hardest seasons.
you know that the producers are goading them on, right? So you got to have like talk about how horrible this was, and I know that, for example, here's the thing: I'm pretty sure about this season. I think allegedly they were not allowed to sleep next to each other after season 39, right? So they had to build shelters where they were 3 feet apart. So that's 6 people. So that's an 18-foot shelter. So it was like 2 shelters. So they had to build kind of like twice as much shelter. I mean, I know they weren't getting rice. I know that. I know whatever else. I guess there was some rain that's not being shown. But here's like the number one thing. In Africa and in Guatemala, and probably some of the other seasons too, we had to go get our own water. There wasn't this like well in the woods in Fiji where you just like dip your water, canteen and fill it up. We had to go to an alligator-infested lake, crocodile-infested lake, fill it up with like shitty lake water. Literal shit, by the way. Yeah. And then bring it up, hike it back up to our camp, boil it, let it sit after it was boiled, and then have your water. So there was no like, I'm going to go walk to get water situation. That doesn't exist. In terms of the elements, I don't know about the bug situation there. I don't know. I'm not there, right? I can't compare Fiji to Guatemala. The best person to ask this would be Danny Boatwright, because she's the only person who's in both locations. Or Ethan, right?
I remember Danny talking about how much harder Guatemala was a little while ago.
It has to be. I mean, the conditions we were in were brutal.
The heat as well. The heat that you guys endured out there,
it was like 114 degrees. We were in Guatemala in July. It was July in the jungles of Guatemala. It was 110 degrees on a good day, 100% humidity. There were mosquitoes everywhere. I mean, head to toe mosquitoes. They seemed to like Amy, so I would always sit next to her because they would go to her first. We couldn't go in the water. Like, it wasn't a matter of just the water's too far. It was, you're not allowed in the water, because we would go in, and I think there's, the episode where Brandon goes in the water is like, the brave live long and the cautious don't live, or something. But the point is, we would go in the water, and then we had to have a reptologist. I think that's the word. They had to come to our camp and be like, stop going in the water. You will literally die. Stop. Like, you have to stop. And that's obviously when we ended up winning that pool. But yeah, you're lethargic, you're hot, you're sweating. We had our 11-mile hike, obviously.
Oh, yes.
Challenges were brutal. It was pushing boulders. It was basketball on a net. It was the tug of war in the mud, which caked onto our skin. And when you tried to clean it off, you would pull your sunburnt skin off with the dried mud.
God. Oh, God.
So it's just like when they're like, we don't have rice. I'm like, cool. Yeah.
You what I'm partially thinking relates to this. One, the fact of all the other seasons they've seen up to this point have not been as hard. So it's like what they're hearing of, oh, Fiji looks beautiful. There's water. They're eating. They're okay. Like, it isn't raining every day. All that stuff. I think that's one thing. Two, I think we've also they filmed this, I believe it was in March or April of 2021. Yeah. They've all been basically inside for a year.
True.
Completely inside. Like, not really going anywhere. And the last thing you're pretty much doing is just going out and like sleeping in the middle of nowhere with strangers. You're not doing that. So I think with like how much we've almost coddled ourselves over the last year, I can't imagine having been like, all right, I've been in quarantine for a year. I've been sitting at home on Zoom, looking at everything. Oh, now I'm outside. I'm not like being able to go to my refrigerator every 5 seconds and engorge myself with every bit of food I want to eat.
Right.
I think all of that put together maybe just subverted their expectations. I don't think they were expecting to not have rice. They weren't expecting a shorter game, all that stuff.
And to be fair, I mean, any survivor is hard. So,
no doubt.
In no way am I suggesting theirs is easy. They're sleeping on, whatever bamboo or palm fronds they have. They're probably not getting a lot of sleep. I'm sure it's hot. It's fast paced. There's not a lot of food. It is not easy for them. So I don't for a second doubt that they're having a very hard time. There could be rain we're not seeing. It's got to be bad. But it's just a little bit of a hard pill to swallow when the producers keep putting these clips on like, this is the most brutal season we've ever had. Most brutal? Really?
Yeah, that's what my point is. I feel like it jammed down our throat completely. That's where I'm coming from with it. I think, as you just said, any season anyone plays is going to be extremely hard and extremely difficult. But for some reason, this season in particular, they're just trying to make us as viewers think that this is the hardest season without a doubt, no competition.
Do you remember the previews for the season?
Yeah, the monster.
The dangerous and the word monster.
Mhm.
Yeah, I still remember Jeff in like one of these. You know, it's like if there's a monster in your kitchen, you're not gonna ask where it came from. You're just gonna run. What the hell is a monster doing in my kitchen? Like,
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
with the nonsense. Like,
Yeah, well, this is Jeff, right? He's not. I don't know. I have nothing else to say about Jeff. Whatever that guy.
I don't know what he was on, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
But yes, hardest season ever seems like classic production hyperbole. It's hard. We get it. It's not the hardest season ever.
Okay. Switch. One other thing that I guess like I want to say, I guess it's been jammed down our throat as well, is the whole drop the 4, keep the 1, all that stuff. And Jeff talking about new Survivor. I took a note of this at Tribal. He literally was saying to Ricard, he's like, in the new Survivor, you have to have relationships with like so many people.
What?
That's Survivor! I literally said that with a group of people, and I'm like, he just said that?
I know. I caught that too. He's like, this time you need relationships.
I was like, does he not know how the game works?
Also, Lyanna gave a really basic answer to something where she's just like, it's really chaotic. And he's like, thank you guys. I'm learning something new every season.
That was the last thing. I'm still learning. Like,
what do you learn?
That's the answer. I think Jeff was maybe being told of, hey, to accept these bad answers, because then they'll play harder. And he's like, oh, I have to accept this garbage. That's my hope, but I don't know.
I think he's genuinely learning. Like the way he's like, wait, hold on. Family is important? What? You're happy to see your brother? Like,
okay. Wait. Tell me how your brother and sister relationship works. Wait, none of you are the mother. Wait.
Yeah, exactly. You're like,
I still remember. I'm like,
so you share 50% of your DNA?
We are. You know what? It's like for all the crap we've given Jeff with the loved ones visit, I am gonna miss the loved ones visit this season.
I will not. Season. Emphatically not.
I for the fact of, one, we get Jeff saying all these stupid comments that cracks me up, and 2, when they have to like do a challenge and then you pick people to go with you, the vitriol that it causes, I love.
Vitriol.
Sure,
vitriol.
Yeah. Yes. What number is that in the pack, Brian?
That's hilarious. We don't do SAT vocab anymore because.
Oh, I know you don't. But one of my best friends had you as a tutor before he found out I watched Survivor. And he was like, "Ask Brian what this word means," and he never gave me a word to ask.
That's hilarious. Wait, your friend had me as a tutor. Which friend?
We'll talk about it offline.
Yeah, I was like, maybe don't put that name on.
Yeah, maybe I could have. But I was like, I'll text him, see if he can give me a word. But he was like, test Brian on this thing for me. I'm like,
that's
okay.
Hilarious. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, long story short,
I wasn't even trying to give you a cool word, but the fact of just like, I don't know, I'm gonna miss that, and I'm also just gonna miss Bryce calling everybody like a zaddy and this and that. That I'm gonna miss. But
I feel like Bryce will still pull that off without.
Oh, he'll pull it off, but I still think it's more fun when he has loved ones to also call out and say that they're beautiful and everything.
Yeah. I mean, the loved one thing, obviously with quarantine, they couldn't pull it off. I'm assuming. I can't imagine.
With all due respect, I hope so, because if they did, then it's on Zoom, and I really don't want to watch more Zoom.
Oh, right. That would be pretty stupid. But
Jeff's like, look, I got a laptop out here. They gave me Wi-Fi in Fiji.
Well, and they can go back to when they had the VHS where they would stick it into the TV and play the video.
Give me the Sprint. Give me the Sprint, the BlackBerry.
Big old iMac they had in the Outback in season 2.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. No, not this again. Not
I mean, it could.
And then we can see a proposal again through that.
Keith?
Yeah.
Who is like dating somebody that isn't engaged? Because Ricard's married at that point.
Oh, I mean, I
don't think anybody like.
I suspect probably not Lyanna or Xander, but Heather's married or.
Yeah, Heather's married. So Ricard's married. Heather's married. Lyanna and Xander are too young. Erica, I don't know if she's dating anybody.
Deshawn, Erica.
You could just get the Lyanna and Xander proposal right there. That's what you would do.
Just get this over with, kids. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
I would die if I found out later on those two were dating or something. Like just after the season. I would die laughing and be like, you know what?
I mean, it's like the classic pulling someone's pigtails move, right? Like they say, which really blurs the lines between abuse and love. But that whole like, he's only teasing you because he loves you thing.
I mean, this would be them like teasing each other almost. So it would at least be even.
It's possible. But no family visit.
face. Now I want to. Now I love him.
Mm-hmm. I won't miss the family visit only because I feel like it takes up so much time from the game.
Fair enough. That's completely fair. And you know what? I'm looking forward to that because I knew what I'd also be looking forward to? The final 7 vote. If it was normal and I didn't have to worry about whatever stupid crap Jeff has in mind, which I'm willing to bet is worse than the first 2 twists he came up with. And I hate the hourglass more than anybody.
Tell me how you really feel. Like,
well, we'll wait till next week to see how I really feel, depending on how bad this is. Like I was able to give the hourglass was bad, but it had like some moments that were interesting. I don't know how this is interesting because I also have no idea what this is.
There was nothing good about the hourglass. The hourglass was stupid from conception to execution. It was.
Oh, I agree. No, I agree. It was stupid. I'm not saying it was a good idea. I'm saying it gave us a little bit of a good result.
I mean, yeah, we lost.
The tribal was interesting. The tribal was interesting.
Well,
yeah, we lost Sydney. That's exactly what I'm saying. We didn't need to lose Sydney from that.
I think
we didn't
Sydney
either.
would
I
be a
agree.
more interesting character to have around. And
yes,
also,
but if we're,
just
but
this idea that you're just like, we're going to tell you want to challenge. Use the word "you're guaranteed a spot." The phrase
no, I hated it.
And then to put it like as if this was any consequence for Erica whatsoever. And people on Twitter were like trying to justify how, well, it's actually consequence because she'll piss off her alliance. Her alliance, she already knows she's at the bottom of the alliance.
You listen. I said this. Even if she was in a perfect spot in the game, like everybody loved her, you're gone for 2 days. The other 11 people in the game some of them who have all just met, they're like, wait, we have to talk about somebody to get rid of. How about we get rid of the one person who's not here and can't backtalk?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, all right, Erica. Like, I would have literally not even let Jeff put down the hourglass. I would have said, give me that mallet. I'm smashing it.
Right.
Maybe smashed it on his head. Like,
and
no, give me safety.
Players who seem to not take it personally, from what it's so.
I mean, except Danny, who took that twist.
Yeah, Danny took it personal. We just didn't see it.
But he didn't blame Erica. He blamed Jeff, right? I mean, he wasn't angry at Erica for it.
Yeah,
Erica did what logically she should have done. Danny was pissed, rightly so, because he's like, you, production, said we were guaranteed a spot in the final 11. You said that. Like, and now you're saying we're not. So that's it.
Everyone would have done the exact same thing as her. So you can't blame her for that. And I loved that the players didn't because it's not her fault. She just did what was brought to her and was playing the game. And if you find out that's part of the game, of course you're going to smash it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I love Jeff like being like, this is new Survivor. Oh my God, this is crazy. And it's like, yeah, shock value. And to me, there's too much emphasis on let's shock them. Be like, oh my God.
The game is made for the viewers, not for the players. And that's frustrating for
someone. He says the opposite. That's what makes me. That's what he says. He's like, no, we make the game for the players so that they're confused and startled and excited and all that.
No player appreciates a game where the rules are not laid out. That's not a thing. No
player does, and not many fans do either.
Well, yeah. So I mean, but he's playing it for the general. The general population likes the wow, that's so exciting and interesting, and I get it as a producer why you need to do it. Totally, I understand fully. But for the super fans and the players, I think it sucks.
Yeah.
And obviously, the super fans and the players are 0.01% of the viewing audience, right? Your general audience is the casual fan who turns it on Wednesday night, watches it, says that was fun, and then goes on to watch like Tough as Nails because it's still on TV afterward.
Don't you dare criticize Tough as Nails. Okay?
I haven't watched it. I have no business.
I haven't. I watched like the first episode I watched the first couple episodes of the first season. It was funny, but I'm like, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know Tough as Nails either. I think for me, twist wise, what I do find interesting, I like it when they do the different type of shakeups that we've seen this season, where it's smaller groups voting out particular people, because I think that makes you have to adapt your strategy and you have to work with the people that you end up being stuck with, and that does show how good of gameplay that you have and what you can offer. But I think some of the twists that come out of nowhere, as you said, that people don't know about, it's really difficult because then people are saying, okay, I have to maybe play a little bit more cautiously because I don't know what's coming at me within this game.
Correct.
It doesn't work. One thing I just want to talk about. One thing. We lost Shan this episode. We lost, I think, without debate, the best player of the season so far. In terms of like the biggest threat, the one who was going to beat everybody at the end of the game.
But you can't say that because she didn't get to the end. No, she didn't win.
I agree with you. I'm saying it in a vacuum. Like overall, I think the way I consider it is Shan is the player that everybody was worried about beating them at the end. Like Shan
We
would have
certainly
liked
lost the biggest character. That seems
she was the biggest character.
Mm-hmm.
She was likely going to beat everybody at the end, and that's why everybody was worried about it. And 2, I think if you put her on put this cast on a bunch of random seasons, like I think Shan wins majority of the time. But beside the point, my thing I want to ask the both of you is: so Shan's move this episode, once Ricard won immunity, was to try to get Erica out and like get let's just be simple, get Erica out and have Xander and flush Xander's idol. What do you think would have been a better move forward if there was one that might have worked?
For Shan to stay in the game?
Yes.
Well, I mean, obviously what Shan thought she was doing was what she thought the vote was going to be because she didn't see it coming. No, I'll get there, but I'm just saying because she didn't see it coming, obviously. So she thought she had agency with people within her alliance. So I don't think her targeting anyone in her alliance was good because she thought all those people were actually indeed with her. And Erica's not in her alliance. And she thought that Erica was doing a couple things. I think Shan was reading into Erica's game and how strong of a player Erica could be. And that's why Shan wanted to get rid of Erica. And I do think wanting to flush Xander's idol, yes, but they have said that for so many episodes that you just knew that was never going to happen.
Yeah. My thinking is, I am just wondering, how would it have gone if she had tried targeting Deshawn? Because like that was something that was brewing for a while. Ricard has immunity, so you know he's safe, and he'll vote with you. Like he's 100% voting with you. You likely can pull Lyanna in for that, and then maybe you can even get like a Xander, Eric, or Heather. Like maybe get that contingent to vote with you as well, at least potentially. And I'm just curious if that obviously maybe it likely doesn't work. Likely Shan's gone no matter what. But do you think that gives her a better shot to stay at least?
So you put Heather and Erica in the position of getting to make the decision between voting out Shan and voting out Deshawn, right? If that's where this is headed.
At least you put another name out there.
Because so what this would have to entail would be Shan would go to Heather and Erica and say, listen, they're voting for you tonight. Why don't we do Deshawn instead?
Yeah.
We just don't trust him. Meanwhile, Eric and Heather would have the information that Deshawn is actually targeting Shan. So Heather and Erica, then suddenly the edit of the episode becomes Heather and Erica are like, the group is turning on themselves. They don't know it. So we have to choose whether we're going with Deshawn to vote out Shan or we're going with Shan to vote out Deshawn. And who do they go with there? And maybe where does Ricard fall?
Maybe they split because of the idol. I don't know.
I say this is where they go. They don't go with Shan because Erica knows Shan's been gunning for her and Shan's been trying to get her out of this game. Yes, we've seen before, like Danny's dropped Erica's name, but is Erica aware that Danny has said her name? That's what the issue is. I think Erica's aware that Shan has dropped her name multiple times before, therefore thinking that she can have more pull with Deshawn moving forward versus Shan moving forward.
She probably does. I think that's true. I think Erica perceives Shan to be the bigger threat, probably.
She perceives Shan to be the bigger threat, but not having the backing of Ricard, you can't do that little what is it, 3-2-2 split that she wanted, or 3-3-2, excuse me, at that point. So yeah, where does she go? And this is all, so you have Danny and Deshawn on one side, you have Shan, Ricard, and Lyanna on the other. Let's say Xander automatically goes against Lyanna. Just say that for argument's sake. Where do these two, like, I feel like that's at least gives her a better shot of staying.
Also,
because you're worried about the idol.
We don't know that Ricard's voting with Shan. Like Erica might have the information.
No, you're right. We don't. But I do think he wanted Deshawn out as well.
He did.
So that's where I'm thinking you have a better shot of getting him.
Well, except that we do have him directly saying, Deshawn has lied to me. I don't trust Deshawn. He needs to go. But I still think he's a better move forward. And I can get rid of him tomorrow. So we know that Ricard's mindset is point blank comparing Shan and Deshawn and having probably the option to get rid of Deshawn if Ricard wants to. Ricard still chooses to get rid of Shan. So that's probably where Shan probably, even if she had thrown Deshawn's name out, it still is likely her going home.
Yeah. Also, here's the biggest issue. If someone wanted Shan to actually stay in this game, they would have tipped her off and then she would have played her idol. So the fact that it didn't happen tells me that Shan would have gone no matter what. And I don't think Shan would have gotten the votes if she was trying to steer it in a different direction. Because if someone really wanted her to stay in the game, she would have played the idol and would have been safe and would have been able to then get who she wanted out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I hate saying it. I do think almost Shan was dead to rights, but I'm just trying to think of like what if there's anything that could have maybe saved her besides playing the idol, obviously, which I almost forget. Like I remember, I was like when I rewatched the episode this morning, I was like, oh yeah, they got her. That's really cool. And then in their final word, she's like, oh yeah, I went home with an idol. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot she even had an idol. That was how good the move was. I forgot she had an idol.
Yeah, the idol is. The idol's only good if you know you're going home. You know, the idol's good if you're in the minority. It's tough when you're in the majority to have the idol.
Yeah. Which is why Xander's been a little risky by not playing his idol. So he's doing something correctly. He has to know that what they're doing is all fluff sometimes. Otherwise, he would have already burned his idol. So I'm not going to like completely write off Xander as not having an opportunity to win this game because he does have the underdog story and everything. But he has to do something to separate himself from everyone else because he has not driven a vote at all in this merge, and he's kind of just been out on an island on his own. Do I think he's capable of pulling something off? Yes, but the numbers are dwindling. He needs to do something now because if he doesn't, he's just going to get to the end potentially and not have that big of a case to sell to the jury.
Even if he does have a case, actually, between the whole blindsiding Lyanna with the fake out and winning immunity, even if he wins a bunch more immunities, and even if he plays this out correctly at some point, I'm curious about Xander's relationships. We've got no one speaking positively on Xander's behalf. So that's, I think, his problem. You would have to have them grudgingly voting for him for getting to the end rather than championing him as a winner.
Yeah, nobody's championing for him, I think. And I think if we assume that the final tribal format stays the way it is, you kind of need that. You need people in your corner actively campaigning for you. And I don't think he has that at this point. I think the way he gets... I think Erica would. I depending on who she's up against. I think you can at least Shan, I think, could say, you know what? Erica played me. I think Ricard can be like, assuming Ricard's on the jury. Yeah, no. Erica helped make this happen. And I think having the strategic input of those two. And Tiffany, Nasir, and Evie were just in awe of that move. Like once the first vote happened, they're just
we'll
like,
have to
bravo.
See who really gets credit for that move.
Yeah, we will. And I think if Ricard's in the game, he gets the credit. I think Erica's in the game, she gets the credit. Mm-hmm. If Erica can take Ricard out of the game, she gets the credit for that move, I think.
Yeah, because then you just take credit for what Ricard did in that situation. It would be really interesting to see those two both end up at the end at some point, because we also have to factor in this key element, unless, heaven forbid, they have decided to get rid of this twist, which is the fire making.
Oh,
if we have the fire making still intact, I think it could be a crazy finish depending on who can sit in them, because you have the potential of someone winning immunity, giving up their necklace, deciding to go in and make fire because they want to have something else to be able to pitch to the jury on what they did to get there. Or you could have the other instance where you make two people go in, two heavy hitters, battle out, you end up with one of them still sitting with you at the end. So there's a lot of things to consider. I would not be disappointed if fire went away. If that's the biggest twist they give me this season is, you know what? We're just going to throw something else at you and cancel fire. I would be all there for a Final Four vote.
It's crazy. We had a 4-person tribal this season and a 3-person tribal, and they were both freaking fantastic.
Like that 3-person tribal was really dramatic. For an episode we're going in, you're like, so it's Jeannie tonight, right? They really did milk a good suspense out of that.
It was so fantastic. And I also think it's another testament to Shan's game of there were 3 people and Shan went to the summit and they still really didn't consider her at all. Like that's a testament to her game.
Yeah, Shan was a fun player to watch. She had her, difficulties navigating certain relationships, particularly with Deshawn. She wasn't flawless. No one is.
No.
But she was a great player to watch. She was a great addition to the show. Really made you invested in her. she drove plot. She was a fantastic narrator. She was interesting to watch.
Yes, and it marks another year of me getting a winner pick wrong. But you know what? I made it this long with her. I'm impressed myself.
Mine is still in there. I have Deshawn. Brian, who was your winner pick?
Funny, I'm in a pool with Eliza from Super and Brooke from Amaze, and I have to look at it. We split up the players at the beginning. I still have both Erica and Deshawn are the two players I have left. So I've got a decent shot, I think, between those two.
I went with Shan, and so I did a draft for two of my friends. My draft, and I'm just looking at it in order. I got Shan, Sarah, JD, Sydney, Voce, and Brad. I am out.
Oh, wow.
I have not, and I've said,
I said the entire pre-merge practically.
I did. Well, pre-jury, yeah. I got that and Shan.
Right.
I got them and Shan. And I said, my friend of mine's like, yeah, your draft is done. I'm like, I should earn an award for how bad this was. But it gets, Lauren, your point of somebody's gonna try to go pull a Chris Underwood and like give up immunity. You know who I think is the one person who would do that?
Xander.
Yep. I think Xander does it and gets himself out of the game. That is what I'm starting to see. Maybe Erica
Chris
takes
it. Could afford to do it because he needed something and he was already the entire jury.
That's what I'm saying. That would be like, that's him saying, I really have nothing else to lose, because if he wins, he has another chance to be able to like sell his point on why he should win the season. If he goes there, he can say to himself, all right, well, if I would have gotten to the end, probably not going to get that many votes anyway. So I had to try something.
Oh, yeah. No, I get that. But I think he could be in a position where it's like, oh, I want to take out Ricard or Erica or maybe like Deshawn or Danny. I'm going to do it. And then he fails. That's where I don't know why I'm thinking that. But I also think
I also think foreshadowing too, with Erica potentially being going into fire at some point. What we've seen earlier on in the season.
With Deshawn, wasn't it? Weren't they making fire together?
Deshawn wasn't doing that great at making fire. Erica was sitting next to him, and Deshawn said something along the lines, well, you know, like, I can't really make fire. And those two were sitting together when that happened.
So it could be a Deshawn. I could absolutely see one of them being a fourth placer. Like, one of them could absolutely be getting a fourth place at it for sure.
Also, you would be the bigger twist of the season? How about we go to a final two?
Yeah, that would be a crazy twist.
They're not going to, but can we? Please?
I pitched that earlier, and you guys all shut me down.
Oh, no, I
that's the biggest twist.
No, Lauren, there's no shot of it happening. It's a dream. There's no shot of it happening.
I mean, what was the last one? Kagayan?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Kagayan
and then Token Cheens for the last two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Well, we're due for one.
And we've been due for one, and they don't seem to care. I don't know if you guys really. Jeff doesn't care about our clock or our desires really at all.
No, correct. And I guess then there wouldn't be a fire making at 4 because the whole point of the fire making is to like determine the finals. So
right,
knowing them, they would. That would be something they would.
Well,
you know what?
Here's my thing. Like, obviously, just we're running out of time, and that's why I think it's absolutely a final 3. But I just want to make the point why final 2 would be amazing, because if they're saying this is a new era, start from the final 2 and then progress from there, because you want to keep players on their toes. Everyone probably has in their mind, okay, I'm playing to get to the final 3 right now. If you really want to make a huge twist that isn't like impacting it with an advantage or anything, it's just you being able to adapt to a situation, make it a final 2.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen when fire making is added, players are just trying to get to the final 4 now. And I wouldn't love it if they didn't tell them, hey, there's a final 2 this season, much for the same reason I didn't like when they didn't tell them fire making was a thing, or didn't tell them in a season where there's a final 2 instead of a final 3. I don't like that for the same reasons, Brian, you said, when the players don't know what game they're playing. Yeah. However, if you're going to like, if you're going to screw me over in the past of adding, basically pushing the bar backwards, saying, all right, now final 2 is final 3 is now final 4, essentially. Let's go the other way. Let's go the other way. Yeah, let that be the big twist. But I don't know what I would do if they did, but I think I would like be doing a double take for an hour. It's like, wait, what? I would also make sure that I'm watching the right episode, not the episode that Lauren manufactured.
I'm just saying there's always what if scenarios, and that's why it's fun to talk about it, because you don't know what's coming. And nothing at this point can shock me anymore. So I just kind of go with it as a fan.
I say nothing could shock me, and then Shan getting voted out like that shocked me.
It was great. Great episode. Super fun episode.
It was
I loved it.
One thing that's been a topic of conversation the last couple weeks was how bad the rewards have been lately. When we go from grilled cheese to chicken and beef stew, you know what? I think they got a good one this week with I just love that they called it the Survivor Sanctuary. That had me cracking up every time.
Was that just the Edge of Extinction with those shipwreck there?
I think it was the same island that they used for, what was it, when Tiffany and
Nasir and
it was Tiffany, Brad, and Sydney.
Brad, yes.
Yeah.
When they went to do their thing at night, I think it was they made it look like the Edge of Extinction. Maybe it was there. I don't know, but I love that for the solo aspect of Ricard and Shan are having their little conversation of, we're going to take each other out, right? Yeah, we don't know when. Let's not talk about that, but let's keep talking.
It was relationship. It was drama. It was social. It was super fun to watch that.
I wish we had a little bit from Heather and Xander of their conversation, even though there was probably nothing there. But I
didn't need that. I just wanted to know. I wanted to know the dynamic that was happening between Ricard and Shan, because we saw their entire storyline. Their storyline was great. You see it from the beginning, right on Ua. Ends up those two being the last two standing on their tribe. And you even see the bickering start there. It's not like it was a perfect relationship to begin with. And these are the type of alliances that I like to see. I don't like seeing people completely agree, because I think both of them 100%. Knew how strong of players that they were, and they were still trying to push their own agenda. But at the end of the day, you see they have a ton of love for each other, but also realize that they are playing a game and know that their mindset is not going to align going to an end game.
Yeah, we saw that on Edge of Extinction with Rick Devens and David Wright early on in the game. There was a great episode early in that season where the two of them weren't seeing eye to eye about who to vote out. And it was a great dynamic.
I was almost thinking of David Wright and Zeke from when it was Gen X. Two of them are such gamers, and then fighting to take each other out. But my favorite part from the Sanctuary, well, two things. One, the flag that just said Sanctuary on it.
Yeah, really.
I was like, all right, we're doing that. Two. Then when Shan sings her evil song out loud, and Heather's like, "What are you singing?" I was on the floor. I'm like, oh my God.
The editors were thrilled. The cameramen were like, "Yes, got it." Yeah, that was a bonus for that shot. Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, it's just. Oh, Heather.
Again, really good storytelling. When they want to be good storytellers, they are excellent storytellers. Yeah. Survivor at its best is unbeatable. Yeah. The way we were introduced to that theme song pretty early on, they reminded us of it in a mid-episode somewhere, and there was a payoff this episode.
Yeah, and I think what's been great about the season is the editing. Besides the cast, the editing, I love the little tricks that they've done, playing the little music in the background, doing these flashbacks, like when the knowledge is power thing happened, and they show Xander giving the idol to Tiffany, that little confessional, the confessional and the challenge where Deshawn is trying to throw it and Nasir is being Superman. Nasir finding these moments. I'm like, you know what? This is good. And I'm hoping the editing being different pays off with Erica winning. That's where my hope is. And that somebody who wasn't that visible in the pre-merge is shown to make a big push at the merge and win the game. That's my hope.
That's hope. Yeah, let's see who wins and determine whether we feel like that winner's story was told well enough. But from now, I think that the cast this season is fantastic. The editors are great. I wish production were a bit better.
Oh, I wish they were a lot better, frankly.
Right on. Brian, do you think there's anything else from this episode that you want to touch on before we jump into some of the ratings?
No, I feel like we're good. I feel like we covered everyone, right? We gave everyone their fair airtime, right? All 8 players we kind of touched on.
Actually, I do have one thing. If you don't mind, I want to just ask you a little bit about Guatemala.
Oh, sure, of course.
For a second.
One time about Guatemala, yes.
One thing. Do you have any fun stories from the pre-jury trip? You mentioned talking to Morgan earlier. Yes, Lyrsa, when she was on 2 weeks ago, had stories galore of just.
Where did they go?
They went to Australia.
Yep.
Did she say what part of Australia?
I don't remember.
She didn't tell us. She just told us all the amazing friends she met in Australia.
And how the only person on the cast that she got along with was Natalie.
Wait, Natalie? Oh, Natalie Cole. I was
How
like,
can you forget Natalie?
Honestly, I went Tenarelli, I went Anderson, I went
White.
I was
Yeah,
like,
no, I get you for half a second. Like,
I had to like think Natalie, which Natalie? There's so many Natalies. 3 of whom have been in the finals. Natalie Bolton, 4 of whom have been in the finals. Okay, so our trip. So we were obviously a pretty eclectic group. We had Jim, who was 63 years old. We had Amy and Margaret, and then it was a bunch of 20-somethings. So we had Morgan, Brianna, Brandon, Blake, and I. Morgan, Brianna. Oh, and Brooke, of course, Brooke. So all of us were from 21 to 25 or so. And then you had Margaret, Amy, and Jim. So it was kind of a fun group. Very weird. Amy, they tried to say that we were on a mission trip. That was our cover, right? Because why else is this weird group of people together?
It's a weird group of people.
I guess you could say that with like Jim he was a pastor, right?
No, Jim was a firefighter.
Oh, he was. No, my bad. I don't know why.
Yeah,
John
in Thailand was.
I was thinking of John for a second. I was like,
John from Thailand, John Raymond. But so
you could pass Jim off as a pastor, I guess.
Not if you've ever heard him speak. So,
I mean, like looking appearance-wise, you could pass him off.
Sure. But he's a fun guy. So our cover story was that we were a mission group, but Amy was like, "Fuck this! Like, there's no fucking way anyone's gonna fucking believe I'm a fucking pastor." Like, so Amy. She was like, "I'm your bodyguard." So Amy, her cover was that she was the bodyguard, as if we would need one in Costa Rica. So we would all go out, and then there were shots competitions, generally between Morgan and Jim, which was always entertaining. I remember Brooke would see a fast food place and would say, this is like a really bad corporation, and da-da-da-da-da, and then Blake would be like going straight there to get food just to spite her. I believe one of the contestants hooked up with our chaperones. I'll leave it to the viewing audience to guess about that.
Amazing.
Which I can't imagine was allowed. But yeah, we had these 2 chaperones, Catherine and Mathieu, who must have been late 20s, early 30s. And there was definitely a hookup there. None of the contestants hooked up. None of us hooked up with each other. And yeah, what were some like, I mean, like the crazy stuff was just about, actually like not crazy, but just really genuinely nice was when we went scuba diving. It was Brandon's first time underwater. He had never really been in the ocean. And so kind of to see Brandon explore underwater, that was really, really cool. Just to see someone not only see the ocean for the first time, but be scuba diving. And it was really watching somebody see more of the world, and that was really fun.
It gets me thinking. The whole pre-jury thing. One thing Larissa mentioned was that they were getting updates. Like they were getting kind of cryptic updates about the game. Were you guys getting anything?
Nothing. Oh, Margaret and I found a internet cafe, and so you can't go anywhere without your chaperones, right? So Margaret and I did sneak out one time because we were definitely the 2 like most trustworthy people there. Us and Brooke, we were like the goody ones, the ones who would follow rules and stuff. So no one would suspect that Margaret and I would be breaking the rules. So Margaret and I went off, found an internet cafe. And so that's when we found Gary Hoggaboom. We looked up Gary online.
There you go.
So we got our definitive proof of Gary during our pre-jury trip. And the sleuths on, back then it was like Survivor.
Survivor Sucks?
It was Survivor Sucks, but it was even before Survivor Sucks. There was something else where they would find the contestants, right? So we were filming, and contemporaneously the internet was trying to figure out who was on the season. So they had started to find people. So they had found Brooke, they had found Gary. And so it was kind of really an interesting experience to be on the pre-jury trip, reading the internet to be like, "Oh, look, Brooke, they found you." Bran and I were the only 2 they didn't find, ultimately.
Nicely done, I guess.
Yeah, they had a picture of Brooke from her college graduation or her law school graduation, which had just happened. So it was all. Yeah,
that is hilarious. And my other thing is, who would you have voted for if you were on the jury of that season? Who were you?
Depending on obviously where in the jury I fall in,
say you were like right at the beginning. Say you just made the murder.
So say I had just made the jury and I was just there.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard to say, right? But I do think if I'm being honest with myself, I think I would have been annoyed with Stephanie's move voting out Judd and Cindy and Lydia back to back to back. I think I would have found that really stupid. And I think I would have said Danny made it. I know that everybody thinks that Stephanie would have won that season or should have won that season. I know there's a big Stephanie contingency out there. I know that. But it's hard to watch someone make those moves and be like, why Judd? Why Cindy? Why Lydia? It doesn't make sense. And really earnestly be like, this is a winning game when Danny navigated her way in there. I think I would have voted Danny.
I'm just trying to get like a sense of like what you would have valued as a juror, like what all these people like in our current season are trying to value as well.
Yeah, I want to vote for smart moves. Definitely not emotional. Definitely not bitter. I want the one who made the smarter moves. And I think that series of moves at the end of Guatemala that Rafe and Stephanie made, it's hard to understand them. I wasn't there. I know they had reasons for it, and maybe I would have had a better sense in the jury. But it's hard to understand cannibalizing so many people and letting Danny get that far.
Yep. All right.
Right. And I mean, it's hard too, because like, obviously you weren't in that situation. So you're going on what if scenarios there. Right. But I will say it would have been interesting to see Rafe versus Stephanie in that situation.
I think Rafe pulls that off.
I do as well, but I think the vote is much closer than what we ended up seeing.
Yes. Because I think a lot of the vitriol, to pull that word back in, that Judd in particular was experiencing was aimed at Stephanie more than Rafe, right? I think Judd and Stephanie had a tighter bond than Judd and Rafe probably did. So Judd's bitterness would have been directed toward Stephanie, not as much toward Rafe, probably.
Gotcha. All right.
I'm also curious to know one thing. Who did you connect with the most on your season, and did any relationship that you had with anyone surprise you?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. So Amy and I were oil and water in the game. We could not see eye to eye on anything, and we were the two who were together the whole time because we were on both first Yasha and Yasha 2.0, and then she gets voted out right after I do, so I see her 3 days after I get voted out, and then we're together the entire time at Ponderosa and the jury trip. So Amy was relentless in teasing and mocking me. But the thing is, I have a very thick skin, and I really don't get bothered by that kind of stuff. And Amy, I do think, really grew to respect that because she could see that she could poke fun at me, but I could take it and throw it back. And I think that really grew on Amy, that she's like, oh, he's not just a kind of weak-willed person. And Amy is so funny and so tough. And I find her really funny. I found her extraordinarily frustrating to work with in the game. I felt that I couldn't convey strategy to her. She didn't want to work with me at all. I don't think she ever trusted me. And we just couldn't get along. But when we're both in Ponderosa, it's just like we were both like, well, we both lost. So, and we've got each other. We got each other. So we were sort of each other's reprieve from crazy sometimes. And the other person I would say would be Brooke. Brooke and I were two peas in a pod. We valued the same things. We were really close. And she was a very calming source too. So Brooke and I could kind of just be a little bit more zen together. But Brooke and Amy were the two that I bonded with the most. Lydia, I love. Love. Lydia, unfortunately, her son had died shortly after filming. Rafe and I went to the funeral, but I haven't seen Lydia since then.
Oh my God.
If anyone anywhere ever knows anything about Lydia, send me a DM because I would love to hear any update from her, but I haven't heard hide nor hair of her.
I would love to hear from Lydia. Oh my God. All right. One thing that actually I'm looking at my notes kind of, I don't know if it surprised me or confused me, is right before Tribal, when Deshawn pitches the idea, like after Ricard pitches Deshawn of, hey, let's get out Shan, Deshawn brings that to Danny. And they're like, wait, Shan exposed the plan, even though Lyanna did, which I'm like, are they just trying to make themselves feel good? Like did I miss something?
You mean that they weren't upset with Lyanna for divulging?
Yeah, that they were upset with Shan instead of Lyanna. Like, what am I missing?
Well, I guess Lyanna divulged a plan within their alliance, right? Within their four.
Even though she wasn't supposed to.
Still, but it's still at least telling someone within their culture. They're very right. It's interesting actually to compare. One thing we didn't get into was, did you guys watch Big Brother?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we didn't talk at all about comparing this group of 4 to the group of 6, the cookout from Big Brother, where here you saw the same struggles that the cookout had, which was culture above individual.
Yeah.
And you saw that here. Whereas in Big Brother, the 6 of them committed to that, to the point where Tiffany in Big Brother puts Claire on the block and sends Claire home. Her pair, right? Putting culture above gameplay. Whereas here, you saw there was enough of the pull to say, no, I feel like she betrayed me. Whether you're saying that, like, as you're saying, was that just to make them feel better about voting her out? Hard to say, but they do ultimately decide where we're putting ourselves above the culture, which is perfectly fine. You know, there's no right answer to this at all, either way. But it's interesting to see the 2 different versions of this between Big Brother and Survivor. And maybe it was just because they felt like Shan had betrayed them, but I think you can really overcome that. It did seem like, you know what, we'll use that as a cover to be like, let's get her out now, because.
Yeah, I think it was mostly the cover. I don't know.
Well, you saw that really good conversation between Shan and Deshawn within the episode, and they even talk about it there. And I think the biggest thing, you can just see it pulling at their heartstrings, because both of them are thinking to themselves, they want to be able to stick together, make this happen. But at the end of the day, Shan's thinking this way, Deshawn's thinking that way, and I think they both realize that they want to win, and that's not a bad thing that they want to win. But at the end of the day, you could see how difficult it was, because they're saying, all right, we have this bond with each other. We don't want to see this bond go away, and we don't want to do anything to mess with that. But ultimately, if they're thinking about what they want to do and what's going to help them win the game, they know that they have to make these individual moves amongst themselves. And if you bring it back to Big Brother, a lot of them just ended up separating that and saying, you know what, I'm not going to win this game. That's okay. I'm going to stick all the way, the Alliance of 6. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. I really enjoyed the Big Brother season. But I think, as you brought up, if Tiffany would have kept Claire in the game, if Tiffany keeps Derek X in the game there, Tiffany has a stronger chance to win. But she decided to stick with the alliance that they solidified and that they made. And it just comes down to what people decide their intentions are and what they want to do. And a lot of people love the Big Brother season because of that. But I don't think people are going to hate on Deshawn, Lyanna, Shan, and Danny for having self-interest come into play there.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
I think the thing that's interesting to consider is, it was almost, Tiffany was like the one person who was like able to kind of make that move and like really have the decision. And it's like, it's her making that decision would be the decision for herself. And there are 5 other people who would be upset at her, basically. And in this situation, you kind of have Shan and Deshawn, who have both already know about each other, being like, maybe here, there, like, I want to do it, but I'm not sure about it. And I think that gives at least Deshawn a little bit more of like an out of like, you know what, like, sure, this would be cool, but I don't think Shan's being really that loyal to me. I know she already is. Like, that's where I'm thinking they're coming from partially. Obviously the self-preservation, but also it's not just me who thinks this way.
Well, regardless of why they did what they did or what their motivations were, it's fantastic to be able to see these conversations play out and to add, this like adds to the relationship drama of the show, right? Like when you get more voices, when you get more stories, when you get more cultures, when you get more everything, you get more dynamics. And what makes Survivor so good is the dynamics. So getting to see that play out, maybe a culture different from your own, or understanding the need to represent and where they're coming from. It's great. Put it on. I could take more of that. These conversations are fantastic to see Deshawn weigh his own, you know, what did he say? He had student debt, right? His own debts versus wanting to give the Black community at home something to look forward to after the horrible 2020. That's an interesting conversation, more so than I found this knowledge is power idol.
Absolutely. And we want to see the relationships play out, because then you get those type of conversations and you can really see into people's thought process and how that they are thinking. And I know people say this as well. You can align with somebody for anything. because anything can connect someone, just a little tiny thing that you have the same type of job. And it's just interesting to see how people go out on an island, meet people that they've never met before, how they interact with each other, and what bonds truly bring them together. And it's just beautiful seeing some of these alliances evolve and see everything that comes to fruition with it.
Yeah.
I mean, Shan and like you look at Shan and Lyanna, they bonded in minutes over them having like a deep connection with their mothers. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
And that had implications this episode, right? That was a story. That was a through line, which was great.
One last thing that caught my eye was once Shan is voted out, her last little jab, if you will, which I kind of didn't expect to come from her. She's like, "Oh, that was good," and I'm like, "All right." And then she says something about like loving Lyanna. I really couldn't make it out. And she's like, "Ricard, you have my vote for $1 million, and Deshawn, you're a snake." Typically, I think we've seen both cases of the saying somebody has your vote for $1 million in terms of, like, I remember Victoria said it to Gavin because she wanted to screw him, but other players are like, "Oh, I genuinely love you." And I think my thinking is, I almost feel like Shan's trying to like send love to Ricard because she genuinely cares about him, but I also think she would know better than that. You know what I mean?
Given what we saw, what she articulated in the episode did suggest that she wouldn't be bitter at Ricard.
No, and that's
so I believe that she was, as you point out, she should know better than to paint such a target on someone. So maybe it was a little both. Maybe it was like, buddy, I love you, but I'm a little jab.
Like almost like what was it when Andrea got voted out and like she's like mad at her. She almost like tickles her instead of like doing anything. She's like, you. But then she calls Deshawn a snake, which I was like,
Well, because she feels more betrayed by.
No, I get that. I just didn't expect it. I don't know why I didn't expect it from her. Deshawn, you're like, I don't know.
Because Shan and Ricard never had a Final 2 or Final 4 that we knew of. And they said, like, we had never really discussed endgame bonds, whereas the 4 had said we'll be the Final 4.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
That, and also, I want to call Jeff out for one more thing. I take no joy in this. Yes, you freaking do.
Of course.
Stop this nonsense. You absolutely take joy in stuffing people's torches.
I know, Jeff.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that in there. I take no joy in this. Shut up.
He says with a smile. Yeah.
Hey, it's Jeff. Jeff's been doing this for years, so let him have it.
Jeff.
I'll let him have it, but he's wrong.
He's in many ways he's a phenomenal host. He can think on the fly. He asks good questions. I think that ever since he became an executive producer, he's trying too hard to become the 19th cast member of some seasons or the 21st cast member. It's like, you do a great job as a host, but we didn't watch your talk show either. So like, take a hint. We're not watching this for you. Like you just keep the proceedings moving.
Yeah.
I'm
with you there.
But yes, he's good at what he does.
Oh, I agree.
He most certainly is. But I think it's a good time to maybe take a break and come back and finish off some of these rankings we have.
All right.
Ho, 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 gentlemen! The holidays have come early here at Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. Manscaped just launched new products, including their ultra-new ultra premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give yourself or someone who needs it the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use promo code SURVIVOR for 20% off and free shipping.
Jingle balls to the walls. Fellas, listen up. Untrimmed pubes are a thing of the past, and it's possible you have Santa's beard in your pants. Could be Matt Bischoff's. It's time to leave your significant other some cookies and milk at the bottom of your chimney. I am talking about Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Oh, now, I had a lot of sex. When I got back from my last appearance, I literally had sex 8 times in 12 hours. And, I did some damage down there, fellas. I did some serious damage. I had to call my doctor. There was swelling. There was everything else. It was bad. But You know it wasn't bad? My balls, because I shaved them with Manscaped. Oh, there was the lighting at the top of the tree, but the bottom of the tree looked perfect.
Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the signature Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to reduce cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. It's like a gift to your partner with less mess. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. It's time to keep your North Pole feeling and smelling fresh.
This hygiene bundle will also come with a pair of Manscaped anti-chafing boxers. God bless it. I needed and used that this week. I promise you. The perfect package for your perfect package. Manscaped is going beyond the groin with their new ultra premium body wash. It's infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean, nice, and moisturized.
They also just launched their new 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which has key ingredients with benefits that include hydrating, nourishing, conditioning the scalp, and strengthening your hair at the same time. 'Tis the season to load up on Manscaped products. So get yourself, your dad, your brother, your friends, your neighbor, the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Reality NSFW listeners get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. Every guy out there needs to add Manscaped to their wish list this holiday season.
This is Santa Claus talking to you once again. Get 20% off and free shipping with promo code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. That is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code SURVIVOR. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year.
We're all trying to eat better, but healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but without all the bad stuff. And it's amazing as a midnight snack right before bed.
0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. That's only 140 calories per serving.
It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. And build your own box. Available flavors to build your very own custom bundle are cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, cookies and cream, and my favorite, maple waffle. Now, Magic Spoon recently brought back their 2 super popular flavors, cookies and cream and maple waffle. Thank goodness. But they're back permanently. And when these flavors were first introduced for a limited time, they sold out extremely quickly. Now, I'm here to let you know you can get them again or try them for the first time. Why? Because they're delicious and indulgent.
Johnny, Magic Spoon has so many great flavors that I really enjoy, and even my kids enjoy them. We have the cocoa, fruity frosted, peanut butter. All these are really great combinations. They enjoy waking up in the morning and getting some Magic Spoon right off to start their day great before they head off to school. I think everybody listening should give Magic Spoon a try, or if you've tried them already, it's time to reorder. Let's get you some more Magic Spoon and get your day started right.
Hey, when I finish a podcast late at night, the first thing I'm thinking is not sleep. It's let me grab a delicious bowl of Magic Spoon before I go to bed.
So go to magicspoon.com/survivor to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code SURVIVOR at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/survivor and use the code SURVIVOR to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this podcast.
All right, and we are back to rate, what is it, our final 7?
Yeah, numbers are dwindling. Only so many more moves left to be made.
Yes, hopefully this takes a lot less time than it did when there were 16 people for us to rate the whole season. Brian, are you ready for this? Are you?
I sure am.
Yes. Did you? I'm just curious. Are you more of a Lauren or me? Because I prepare like crazy and have notes of everybody, and Lauren has nothing.
Nope, I never
Nothing.
take notes. Nothing.
Welcome here.
You have notes
Lauren.
sometimes. You have like a little bit.
I had notes after that one episode where all the twists were introduced, and I said, "Who the hell has what?"
Yeah, I mean, when you texted me, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, that says something. But Brian, where do you stand on that? How prepared are you?
Full on Lauren. I have it's all stored in my head.
Nice.
There you go.
All right, cool. Good to know.
Dan's only 33.
Yeah. Yeah, let's start with the 33-year-old.
See, now you're going to see all the ages here.
Yeah, wow.
We should have just started with this. All right, so Danny, Lauren, why don't you start with Danny, where you're feeling he's at?
Okay, so Brian, how we typically do this is we're kind of just rating 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, how we think they are going to look going into next episode and kind of the potential that they have to win this season.
Okay.
Yeah, I also put some stock into how they played this episode and how they've been playing, but
yeah. So for me personally right now, I have Danny actually sitting at a 6 because I do still think Danny has potential to win this game. I think if he does one vote that is his move that separates him from everyone else, he has a shot to become the winner if he does sit at the end, because I think Danny's someone that people respect, people that would want to listen to. And I also think Danny has not pissed off anyone in this game thus far. So I think he has that going for him, as well as I think if he does come with an idea, people might be interested in hearing him out and listening to what he has to say. And he's done a really good job lowering his threat level and not being a target within this merge stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've been, I think, for the large part of the season, higher on Danny than a lot of people. I've praised his social game. The fact that he has not been a target, the fact that he still hasn't, I believe, received a vote is mighty impressive. But Danny's starting to fall for me. I have him at a 4, actually. To me, him losing Shan doesn't really help him in this instance because it wasn't his move at all. So he still doesn't have the big move on his resume. He's running out of time to make any move that would give him credit. And I almost think he needs to make like a super epic move to give him that like shot of, oh yeah, he's threatening, he can win this game. And he doesn't have many. Like, he's running out of value. He's running out of time to make a big move. So I just don't see him winning at this point. Like, it's hard for me to imagine him winning unless he's against Heather and maybe Lyanna. That's maybe the way I see him winning, but even then it's a little iffy. But he, like I said, his social game is pretty good, so that's why I'm at a 4 and not lower. Brian, what do you think?
I had him higher than both of you. I had him at 7.
Wow.
Because I don't think Danny's in any danger next episode. I think that other contestants are either in more danger or have less of a chance of winning the game. So Danny, I feel like no one's gunning for him. If they're going to go for anyone, I think they would likely go for Deshawn first. Yeah. But even Deshawn, I don't think is in danger yet. And I think that because I think people are still going to go to Deshawn to try to make a move, probably against like a Ricard or maybe a Xander or an Erica. So yeah, I think Danny's sitting totally fine, but not impressive enough to earn an 8 or above, which would get like more of a winner possibility. Yeah, for me, if I'm ranking the people in terms of who's likely to win, Danny would be smack in the middle.
Fair enough. Yeah, you're higher than him than we both are. All right, let's talk about his companion, if you will. Let me start with Deshawn. So I've said for a while I thought Deshawn's a really good. He's capable strategically. He's got a lot of. He has a good chance of winning if he makes it to the end. I'm still iffy on him making it to the end because I would have thought at least if he was able to get Shan out first, he didn't be in a pretty good spot. However, the person who's gunning for him really hard has just been shifted to Ricard, who now doesn't have anybody that he wants to target ahead of Deshawn. So Deshawn's straight up at him. Ricard's straight up targeting him. Lyanna's not too happy with him. And Yeah, besides Danny, I don't know. No one else really is fighting for him, I think. And I think that's a key for a lot of these players. Who's fighting for you to stay in the game? Nobody really is. So just seeing him get to the end is a little bit tough, in my opinion. But we shall see. Brian, what do you think about Deshawn?
I gave him way high. So I think Deshawn is going farther. I think that Deshawn will have Lyanna back in the fold. I don't see Lyanna striking out. Like, I don't see, the thing he said about Shan when this episode, he was like, well, if we vote up Ricard, what is Shan going to do? She's just going to come back to us. I think that's even more true of Lyanna. I don't think Lyanna's going to go to Xander. I don't know that Lyanna's going to stir anything up with Erica or Ricard or Heather. So I think Lyanna folds back into Deshawn and gives great confessionals about how, but I'm going to make a move at some point. I think that's classic Survivor. I think that's probably where Lyanna's headed. I don't know, maybe. So I think Deshawn still has Danny and Lyanna. And I think Xander will go where the wind blows. I don't see the 4 underdogs overthrowing them. So I think Deshawn's a 9.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think Deshawn is going to coast through these next couple episodes.
So you think Deshawn's winning this game?
I think he is. Right now, I think Deshawn has the best shot.
Okay. All right. I thought I had him a little high, being in, he's in my upper half. But all right, Lauren, what do you think?
So I have Deshawn sitting at a 7. I actually think Deshawn has been playing a pretty good game. And I agree with what Brian said in the sense of Lyanna, yes, we see in the preview for next week. She comes back. She's going to be a little pissed off at them. But I do think that Deshawn and Danny are good enough and savvy enough players where they're going to be able to bring Lyanna back in with them because in all actuality, you're right. I don't see Lyanna going to a different group because you see the relationship between her and Xander. I don't think that's going to work for her in the future. And I don't think Xander has really any intentions of working with Lyanna either. And then that leaves the Heather, the Erica, Ricard group potentially, because I think people are going to flip and flop and work with different people moving forward in this game just because the numbers have gotten smaller. So I think Deshawn, what he's going to be able to do is now that Shan's gone, I think Deshawn might be able to subtly push his initiative and what he wants to have happen with these upcoming votes, because what was happening was those two were butting heads because they had different ideas and were trying to get people to listen to their ideas. And sometimes Shan was having a little bit of the upper hand because we see in a tribal council where Deshawn's like, no, I don't want to do that move. And then they resort back to the other move. So I think now Deshawn's going to play a little bit more of that dominant role and has the potential to maybe steer the next couple of votes in his favor.
Interesting. All right, I'm probably most looking forward to seeing how Deshawn's game progresses because I've thought they've had to get him out for a while and that he will go out eventually, but he would be an interesting winner. I'll put it that way. Really think. All right. Next up is good old Erica. Brian, why don't you start with Erica?
Erica's is she my second or third? Yeah, she's my second. So Erica, I think, is a 7. Okay. I wasn't sure 7 or 8. I was between 7 and 8 for Erica because I think she's in a fairly okay spot, but I think that if Deshawn guns for someone, it's going to be either Ricard or Erica, I think. And I think Deshawn is probably leading this pack. So I'm going to take Erica down. The reason I'm rating her still a 7 is I think Ricard's probably more in the crosshairs, particularly after this week's vote. Danny already was worried that Ricard was building too big a resume. Now it's even better. He just took out his closest ally in a huge move that the jury clearly respected. And while Erica might get some credit for it, Ricard was the one who voted out an ally. And that's a really big thing. So I think Ricard is in more danger than Erica. And I think if Erica can get past Ricard, then I think she can, get Heather and Xander in an extra vote to maybe do something. So I think Erica's a 7 for me.
All right. Well, Lauren, where are you on Erica?
So I also have Erica at a 7 for pretty much all of the same reasons. I would maybe even rank her slightly higher because I think what she did this episode was fantastic. Made sure that the next option wasn't going to be her and made sure that it was Lyanna. So I think that's a great move right there. My only concern is I'm looking at the preview for this upcoming episode where she's wanting to make another move and everything. And I just hope that she has the numbers to be able to pull that off where the vote doesn't then backfire on her. That could be my only concern. But I think she is a very, very smart and strategic player that if she makes one more big-ish move and executes on that and gets to the end, I think she has enough reasons to win this game.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm not going to agree with both of you. I have Erica at an 8. I think she's the second most likely winner of the season after Ricard. And I'm going to give her so much credit for this move, and I don't think she's getting enough credit, frankly. I think Ricard was the player who did a great job throwing the name out there, but Erica is the one who executed and actually got on the ground, did all the planning. It was like, here's how this is going to happen. You're voting this way, you're voting this way, you're voting this way, and got people who were gunning for her to not only not vote out her, but also do what she told them to do. And which I will give her a lot of credit in getting Danny and Deshawn and Ricard, getting everybody in line the way she did. So that not only was she not getting sent home, she was not the backup target, and she got out somebody who was clearly gunning for her. So that move was phenomenal. With that comes an increased threat level, which is a little concerning for me, because Danny, I think for some reason, has tunnel vision on getting her out. I think Deshawn might be more like, all right, let's get Ricard out, but I still think Danny is really scared of Eric, and I don't know why. Maybe now I'm seeing it. And then I do like that she's still tight with Heather. Yes, Heather isn't somebody that is a big powerhouse in the game, but that is somebody I think you want to be tight with, because Heather is going to vote with you nearly every single time. And at this point, and I think she has a decent relationship with Xander. I think she can pull him in when she needs to. And I don't think she needs another move on the resume. I just think she needs Ricard to get out somehow. She needs Ricard out of the way, and that would, I think, be her move no matter which way she does it. Doesn't need to be super flashy. Yeah, I don't know. Erica's impressed me. Erica's went from nothing to something, and I'm just loving the game she's playing right now. And I hope she takes it home. All right. Wow, I've got radio silence, so hopefully I said something right.
No, agreement. I mean, I'd love to see Erica win. I think she's the second. You have Ricard at number 1. I have Deshawn at number 1.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with you, Brian. I still have Deshawn pretty high up there as being a winner.
I have him at 3rd, so it's not too. He's definitely. We'll get there. All right, let's talk about somebody I think we all probably have dead last in our winner power rankings, if you will, and that's Heather. Lauren, why don't you start with Heather?
I was gonna say, do you want me to start? Because I can rip the Band-Aid off here. I actually think Heather is a beautiful person. We just haven't seen it. I wish we were able to see a little bit more, but if she isn't doing anything within the game that needs to be shown, then that's why we're not seeing it. I'm guessing. So I'm gonna say Heather right now. Gonna give her a 3. I don't think she has a chance to win this game. But what I will say is what we haven't even been told in a confessional is her and Erica's relationship in the game. All we have seen is those two connected with each other, walking around with each other, talking about votes and all of that. But I've never seen yet in a confessional Erica saying, I'm aligned with Heather, Heather saying, I'm aligned with Erica. So I just don't even know really what that relationship is as a whole entire piece. So I think Heather's going to be a 0 vote finalist, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Brian, what are you thinking?
I mean, if we're talking about going home next episode, I don't think Heather will. I think you're probably right, Lauren, that she's a 0 vote finalist. She's got a kind of classic edit for that. The other thing she could be is that Angela role from Ghost Island, who she goes out randomly. What was it like? Did she lose fire? Was she?
Angela lost fire. Yeah.
So that was a bad 4th place edit, but she could be a fire loser, Heather. But either way, I think Heather's probably in the final 4 because why get rid of her earlier unless there's just too many advantages in play and she's the safe vote. So if we're ranking in terms of her going home next week, no, I don't think she does. But if we're ranking in terms of going to be the winner, also no, I don't think so. So 4 for Heather.
Okay.
Well, I want to bring up a point here. if people realize that Heather might be someone that can be easily beat in the end, then people might say, okay, maybe I do have to get Heather out of this game because she could then take my spot at getting to the end.
We've seen that before where it's like, no, I get that that's your GOAT, but your GOAT is one of the 3 spots, so we need to get rid of your GOAT. But I don't think that's next episode.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I do think Heather is going to be safe on this next episode because since the numbers have dwindled to where we are at 7, she's someone that people know that they can probably come to and say, let's vote this direction. She's probably going to vote with them. Right. But if I was talking about at the beginning of the merge segment, I thought Heather had a chance of going there because it's just kind of a vote. You can just get rid of somebody if a name comes up and people aren't going to dispute it.
Yeah. Or if this do or die thing means Heather loses the challenges and immediately out, like that could happen. But in terms of a vote, I don't see it.
Yeah. All right. So my notes on Heather: probably not going home anytime soon, but also probably not winning. I'm in agreement with the both of you. She's almost certainly a 0 vote finalist or going out at 4, maybe 5. If there's we'll just get rid of Heather. I had her 2 weeks ago. I had her at a 1 for when she got up and ruined everything. Nearly got herself sent home. Last week I was at a 2. I'm keeping her at a 2 this week because I see no shot of her winning. Yeah. And if I don't think she's an awful play. To me, a 1 is you are actively sinking your own game and are almost certainly going home next, which is what I thought she was a couple weeks ago. She's not actively sinking her own game, but there is no future to her game in terms of winning, which is the ultimate goal. So that's why I'm at a 2 for Heather. I hope it improves, but I'm not getting anything to prove me wrong so far.
What if she just has these 2 amazing episodes and suddenly Heather's everyone's winning?
All hail Heather then. And then I maybe give up watching the show because nothing makes any sense anymore.
Never.
Yeah, we could see that happen, but if it does, I think you're just going to get an uproar from people saying, okay, now this person has a shot at winning. You showed me 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the person we maybe has no shot of winning, but we've seen a lot from. That's Lyanna. Why don't you start with her, Brian?
She's a tough one to rank because she's definitely been present. She's had a lot of edit. We understand Lyanna's motivations. We understand Lyanna's alliances, but we don't see any killer instinct from Lyanna or any kind of leadership from Lyanna that's going to really vault her to a win, particularly above almost anyone left in this game. So she's not impossible, right? If Lyanna's a woman scorned who turns over to the rest and says, we're taking out Deshawn, we're taking out Danny. And now we see Lyanna like a phoenix reborn from the ashes. She could do it. She could. But it seems less likely. So Lyanna for me is a 5.
All right. I'll jump in here. I have Lyanna at a 3, actually.
Damn.
Yeah. All right. Let me tell you why. First thing. Being the only person out of the vote, not a good thing. Especially this late in the game. Getting blindsided by everybody. Your closest allies out of the game now. That's also not very good. And my big thing, no one's really fighting for her anymore. No one is if somebody mentions her name, nobody's going to her and saying, Lyanna, they're gunning for you. They might get pushback because, Lyanna's not a huge threat to win. Let's not get rid of her. But nobody's in her corner fighting for her. And unless maybe she beats Heather, but she needs one more person to beat, and I don't know who it is at this point out of this group. Maybe Danny. You can make a case for Danny. You can make a case that she beats Xander. That's it, and it's even tough with those two. I'm sorry. I love Lyanna. I just don't see her winning.
Really depends on what she does with this.
Yeah, for sure. It depends what she does, but I also think even her best shot isn't great, but you know what? She might impress me. We'll see.
Yeah, Lyanna is just interesting because she's played a game where I thought she was sitting in an excellent spot in the pre-merge. I think she had people that wanted to work with her and that she was willing to work with those people. And I think really what hurt her game is she went all on the Shan train and left behind those Yase people in Xander, Tiffany, and Evie, who I actually genuinely think wanted to work with Lyanna at that point in time. So she threw all of her eggs in one basket. And now we're seeing her gameplay with what's going to happen without Shan in the game. And that's where you could maybe see a new Lyanna being born, because she has the option now to say, guess what? My closest ally is out of this game. What can I make of this situation? And I do think that she has the ability to do that. Just, I don't know if she has enough pieces and people to be able to corral on her side to make votes happen and have the agency to do so. I'm going to give her a 5 because I still think she has a small percentage of a chance to win this thing if she's able to make a couple moves, getting herself sitting at the end in the end game and sitting next to the right people that she's able to out talk and out speak, because it's so important to be able to sit in front of a jury and be able to sell to them why you deserve to win a game. And she's also young, and that's why I'm going to kind of like give her that 5 as well, because I think people are going to have a hard time giving the money to people that are literally 20 years old.
Fair enough. You both are kinder than I. To me, if it's a person that I have a hard time seeing getting awarded money from the jury, it's hard for me to even say a 5. But let's talk about a person that I think we all think has a very good shot with the jury if they get there. That's Ricard. Let me start with Ricard, actually. I'm giving him a 9. I've given nobody a 9 this entire season. And I was saying once Shan or Ricard got the other one out, I would probably give the other one a 9. And that's where it is. Because I think Ricard's our most likely winner in terms of he's almost certainly played the most aggressive, strong game there. I think he currently, if say they ended the game in Final 7, he would clearly win, almost certainly. I think he only has a couple more votes to survive before we get to Final 4, and I think he can. This move was fantastic. The way he planted the seeds to get Shan out, being willing to turn on his ally, was great. I'm only worried that maybe it's a little too early, but the move worked. He got it done. Kudos there. His target's still gigantic, and maybe my biggest concern is I don't know who, like, he doesn't have that many tight allies, but I do think if he can, like, work with somebody for a vote, like get Deshawn out, if he can, like, get people to focus on taking out Deshawn, maybe taking out Xander, that can be his path to the end, and then win an immunity here and there, which he has shown he's very capable of. Yeah, I'm high on Ricard. So I'm giving him a 9, and I'm really impressed with him.
That's interesting. That's high for you.
Yeah.
I got to give Ricard a 7 here, and only I think he made a great move, and I think he's a great game player and has done really well thus far. My only concern is people were wanting to gun for him on the last vote, and they couldn't get him because he won immunity. And I think those same people realize that now and saying Ricard made an excellent move on this last one. He even did something that's going to separate himself even more from us, solidifying how good of a game player he is. And I think his target is really, really large. And I think he's going to have to win a couple more immunities to get there and probably have to win out in the Final 4 fire making if he doesn't win that immunity challenge. So I think he has a tough road ahead. Do I think he can get there? Yes. Do I think if he gets there, will he win? Most likely, but he has to get there still. And I still think he has a ton of obstacles that are in his way.
No doubt. And I think part of where I'm giving him credit is also edit reading, I have to admit. I think he's getting a very, very favorable edit that we've seen in the past of winners. But Brian, what are you thinking about Ricard?
I was 6. So here's why. It's everything Lauren said. Ricard can win this game if Ricard gets to the end. Unlike Deshawn, who I put at 9. I think Deshawn has an easier path to the finals and more allies and more protection than Ricard does. Danny already wanted to get rid of Ricard. Danny was already saying this guy's won a reward. He just playing to the jury by bringing people on the reward. He won immunity. He's won immunity twice now. He voted out his closest ally. I just see the crosshairs on Ricard for when he's vulnerable, and I just think that winning a series of immunities or having enough of a twist or enough of the winds shifting to go in his way to kind of deflect away from him seems like a long road when there's still a full 7 days of game left. So I had him at 6 because if he can get through it, sure. I'm not optimistic that Ricard will be able to get through.
Fair enough. I think I have just a little more faith in his ability to get there. Also, the thing, if you're comparing him and Deshawn, I think Ricard is taken more seriously as a player than Deshawn is right now. Whether that's true or not, it's what we're seeing from like a player like Shan in particular, who I think is going to have a lot of sway in that jury.
Mhm.
She is like, I've played with Ricard the whole game. I know how strategic he is. This, that. And it's like she called Deshawn a snake. She's talked about in the past how she's had to like almost coddle him, treat him like a baby, and be like, I have to deal with your emotions and all that. And now I think that she's out of the game. She's going to be a little like maybe a bit of a tougher critic on him.
Mhm.
And I think that it won't be just Shan being that tougher critic. But if he makes it, if Deshawn can make it to the end and Ricard is not there, and likely Erica's not there too, he's winning this game full stop. All right. So let's go to maybe the most interesting person left in terms of not knowing where they stand, and that's Xander, of all people. Because to me, he should have been out a while ago, but he's still here somehow. He's got the idol, and Tiffany's just like, well, okay. So
Yeah, Xander's an odd. I mean, like he's got all the ingredients of a good player, but he just has no emotional connection that we know of to any contestants. I just don't know that anyone wants Xander to win. Is the question. That's really the question with Xander is, will his ability to get to the end despite always being underdog, being an impressive enough story to overcome what we've been led to believe is his inability to connect with others?
yeah, fair enough. What are you giving him at this point?
I think for the same, I think he's less likely than Lyanna. I think he's a 4.
Okay. All right. Lauren, what about you?
I hate agreeing with people, but I do agree with you, Brian. I have him.
I thought you just hate agreeing with me.
Well, I try and disagree, but like sometimes I can't because we're just so aligned with our thought process here.
Look at us, Lauren. Look at
There
us.
you go.
Mhm.
Got to give Xander a 4 as well because I agree. I think Lyanna has the chops to do it because she is someone that is so persistent about like wanting to win this game. My issue with Xander is this. I don't even know what he's really been doing throughout the merge stage because his name keeps getting brought up. And then people are thinking of using him as a decoy, so he flushes his idol. That hasn't happened. But also, Xander never knows half the time who they're even voting for because they don't want to give him that much information because they're worried about him. And I just don't see him steering a vote moving forward. I see him maybe winning another immunity or two, using the idol. And my hope for him is to give him a chance to win, use the idol, get a big target out that you actually wanted out and make that vote happen. If Xander does that, think still has a chance, and then give up the necklace at Final Four, go into fire, win that, give yourself another chance to be able to say to the jury, I did these type of moves. I think there's so many things that he has to do in order to win this game, and I think he's running out of time to be able to do all those different things.
Yeah, I'm thinking of him and Danny almost in a similar spot of they need to do a lot and they're running out of time to do it. I think the difference is Xander has done some things already in terms of the Tiffany move, and he still has an idol and an extra vote, and that extra vote is becoming more and more powerful with less people in the game. Like we've said, like you both have said, I doubt he's being taken seriously at the end of the game by a lot of the people in the game and on the jury. But he's really good at challenges so far. He's proven that. I've been waffling between a 4 and a 5. I'm actually going down to a 4, so all three of us are in agreement on something.
Nice.
Would you look at that? Yeah, his path to the end is not very bright. And I would say in terms of chances to win, he's probably he's toward the bottom. He's either smack in the middle or towards the bottom. Chances aren't. He's almost got the situation of his chances to get to the end aren't great, and his chances to win also aren't great. But there is a way where he gets there and wins. Yeah, we shall see though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, we do see in the preview, not to put too much stock into the preview, once Jeff says the twist is dangerous, he says this is best case scenario. So I imagine it's something involving a challenge where Xander can risk something and win immunity, or I don't know.
Or someone else is put at risk, right? Like it could be that situation we were describing. Like Xander's like, this is awesome. You know, only Heather and Erica are vulnerable tonight or something like that.
Oh, stop. No. Let's not do that. But all right. Lauren, Brian, is there anything you both want to add on the episode, on the season as a whole?
I'm happy Survivor's back. That's really
Yes.
ultimately the deal here. Like, it's great to have the show on. I wish there were fewer bells and whistles with the season, less kind of production nonsense, but the cast is aces. We've had a lot of really good episodes, not the least of which was this most recent one, and it's just great to have it back. So,
Lauren, what about you?
Like I said, fantastic episode. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the end game, and I think we're just going to see a lot of moves occur, and I have no idea what's going to happen, no idea who's going to win this season, but all I can say is I hope it's a deserving winner, and I'm sure it will be, and I'm just super glad Survivor is back. And Brian, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. You've been an absolute delight. It was so fun hearing your thoughts, your perspectives on the season, as well as a little bit of the behind the scenes from your season of Guatemala.
It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for reaching out. It's been so long since I've been on the show, so it's nice to kind of revisit and talk. So,
Brian, you're one of my favorites. You have been for a while. You still are. This was a dream come true of mine. I had a blast. This episode, one of the best episodes we've had in a long time. Shan is an icon, and I would bet a lot of money that we see her play again, and I cannot wait for that day because I think she's gonna kick some ass. Let me tell you. And ultimately, yeah, I'm nervous of what the twist is going to be, but we still got 7 people left in the game, 7 fantastic characters. And like I said, I don't know who's going to win the game. We all have thoughts. We don't know for sure. All we know is that it's probably not Heather, unfortunately. But ultimately, Brian, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you.
This has been such a blast.
Really fun. Thanks
Lauren,
a lot, guys. Nice.
Lauren, thank you for doing this with me every week and putting up with me.
As always, and if you like what we're doing over here, become a patron. Go to adfreensfw.com. Johnny and Matt do a weekly Q&A where they will answer any and everything that you ask them. It's very interesting, to say the least. I can tell you that. And they're also right now covering Australian Survivor, and it's really fun and entertaining. So they do that all on the Patreon side. So if you want to become a patron, again, adfreensfw.com. Also, what we have going on, we have double action of the challenge going on over here. We are wrapping up.
All right, we lost Lauren.
Wrapping up. She said it. We're wrapping up.
We are wrapping up. She is right. We have double coverage of the 2 seasons of the challenge going on. Johnny Fairplay, Alex Trias, and Lauren herself are covering both seasons throughout the week. I believe Monday and Thursday are the dates they are covering them. Could be wrong on that. But I've heard good things about both those seasons, so check out their coverage for sure. And ultimately, next Wednesday, I believe it'll be Matt and Alex Trias will be back live after the episode to talk about it. And Johnny will be in Nashville. So if you are in the Nashville area, go see Johnny Fairplay and his crew of survivors that join him there. And ultimately for Lauren, Brian, thank you so much for coming on again. All right. And with that, have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck.
Researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great, and it's convenient and discreet. Products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even in the gym.
I am so happy that Lucy is sponsoring us. Ever since they came on board, I have gotten no less than 5 of my friends transitioned over to Lucy and put their cigarettes down. They like the gum. I'm used to seeing the packages all around. This stuff is great, and it's really helping people make much healthier choices. So get on board and join the Lucy movement.
Hey, it's 2021. Get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple that you don't even have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down.
Reality NSFW listeners, go to lucy.co and use promo code SURVIVOR to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co and use promo code SURVIVOR at checkout. Also, I have to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's lucy.co, and be sure to use that promo code SURVIVOR.
This episode of Reality NSFW is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us, Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom by offering chewable tablets that can help men get stronger and longer lasting erections. That's right, we're giving away super hard dicks.
Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men achieve harder, stronger erections to combat all forms of ED.
Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor offices, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it's all done online.
Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problem here. Blue Chew's sildenafil and tadalafil tablets are chewable. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy.
Hey, if you're looking to give that immunity idol to someone, or you don't want to be voted out of a crater, don't worry, Blue Chew's got you covered. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use promo code SURVIVOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's Blue Chew, BlueChew.com, promo code SURVIVOR to receive your first month free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.